Hello everyone, welcome to the What If Anime YouTube channel. Today, we're diving into an exciting new story that will take your imagination to the next level. Let's get started. We will what if Naruto awakened with the heart of a devil. But Naruto was in his apartment, sitting on his bed. It had been a typical day for him. He spent most of it in the academy, pranked Iruka, and went to Ichiraku's. They fed him for free this time, and he had spent the rest of the day running from the villagers. They followed him everywhere, until he finally managed to lose them in the woods. Once he was sure it was safe, he ran back to his apartment. When he finally got to it, it was, as usual, ransacked. Lucky for him, he was able to keep all of his important possessions hidden, so they were never able to steal anything. Not that he had anything important for them to steal. This was always the part of the day that he hated. Coming home to an empty apartment, no one in his life. He was so lonely. Why can't I have a family? He wondered aloud. You do. He heard a voice say. Naruto turned to face the doorway into his room, and saw a dark void in the doorway. Suddenly, a rather tall man with silver hair that was swept back, a monocle, and a purple jacket appeared in his doorway. Who are you? Naruto asked hesitantly. I am Sparta, the Dark Knight. I am also your grandfather. Naruto's eyes widened. My grandfather? How? Naruto asked, thoroughly confused. Your father was one of my sons, Sparta replied. You know who my father was? Naruto practically shouted. Yes, I believe the people around here know him as Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. Sparta said. The Yondaime was my father. Naruto said, shocked. Yes, he was my youngest son. So I have uncles. Naruto asked. All will be revealed in time, child. Come, Sparta said, walking into Naruto's living room. Sparta sat in a chair, whereas Naruto sat on the sofa. So who's the rest of my family? Naruto asked, excited. Well, first I suppose you'll want to know who your mother is. Sparta said. Naruto nodded. Your mother was a former whirlpool kunoichi named Kushina Uzumaki. She was also the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, which is now sealed within you. Naruto's eyes widened. So that's why everyone calls me a demon, he said. Yes, but they are wrong in calling you a demon. They are vastly underestimating your power. Sparta replied, confusing Naruto further. What do you mean by that, Oji-san? Naruto asked, causing Sparta's left eye to twitch. Well, you see, your father is not human, and neither are you. You see, we are devils. Devils are far stronger than demons. Even high-class demons, like the Biju, cannot match our power. A high-class demon is about the same as a low-class devil. Sparta explained. Naruto was wide-eyed. Wow, I'm so badass, he shouted, making Sparta chuckle. You remind me of Dante, my second oldest son, Sparta said, still chuckling. What do you mean, Oji-san? Naruto asked, looking up at the Dark Knight. He was ever the hothead, always making comments like the one you just said. Cool, so, who's your eldest son? Naruto asked. His name was Virgil. He and Dante were twins. Virgil was born first. Sparta looked at the ground. What happened to him? Naruto asked, seeing Sparta look sad for a moment. He is currently trapped in hell. He is in a form of stasis, as punishment for attempting to take my power and repeatedly trying to kill Dante. He shall remain there until I believe he has learned his lesson. Sparta explained. Naruto grinned. So, you basically grounded him. Sparta chuckled. I guess you could call it that. What else do you wish to know, Naruto? What were my parents like? I, unfortunately, can't tell you much about your mother, as I never met her in person. I will tell you this, though. From what I heard, she acted much like you do now when she was young. Really? Yes, I heard she calmed down as she got older, though. As for your father, I know more about him. He was very smart as a child, always asking questions. He was ruthless in battle, true to his devil heritage, but kind to those he cared about. You remind me a great deal of both of them. That made Naruto smile. Thanks, Oji-san, Naruto said. Sparta smiled back. What happens now? Naruto asked. A few things. First, I am going to awaken your devil blood. What'll that do? Naruto asked. Well, it will adapt your body to be able to handle the power. As a result, You will look older than you currently do, about 13, I believe. It will also enable you to wield my blades, he explains, gesturing to the weapons. Okay, do it, Naruto says. Sparta walked over to Naruto and slammed his hand into Naruto's stomach. Naruto felt his body growing. He could feel bones snapping, then healing. He could feel his muscles expanding. After a few minutes, the pain ceased. Naruto opened his eyes, not even realizing he shut them, and saw Sparta standing over him. Looks like it worked, he remarked. Naruto stood up, taking a second to get used to his longer legs, and went to a mirror. He gaped at what he saw. He now had bright silver hair, though it was still spiked in the same manner as before. His eyes were still blue, though they looked more intimidating. He was also taller, around 5 feet 2 inches, he guessed. Wow, was all he could say. He walked back in the room to see Sparta sitting back down. Like the new look? He questioned. Naruto nodded. Yeah. He paused, noticing his voice was deeper. What else do you have planned for me? I have a few gifts, actually. For starters, here are my blades, Sparta said, presenting 2 swords to Naruto. One was a broadsword with a skull on the pommel and the handguard looked like horns. The other was an okatana with a white handle and a round handguard. You're giving me your swords? He asked. Yes. Besides, the Force Edge, he said, holding up the broadsword, was supposed to be given to your father, thus belonging to you. The Yamato, he held up the okatana this time, was the sword of Virgil. Seeing as he is currently in hell, I think that you could make good use of it, he said, handing the blades to Naruto. Thank you, Oji-san, Naruto said. When he took the blades in hand, they began to glow, and then, suddenly, they disappeared. Naruto felt a slight burning in his arms. He pulled up his sleeves and saw he now had 2 tattoos on his forearms. On his right arm was a tattoo that resembled a demon's head. It had horns on either side of its face, making it somewhat resemble an M in appearance. The very tips of the horns were red in color, which faded to black the closer they got to the face. In the very center of the head was a red crest on the forehead. The eyes were glowing red, and the mouth, which was a bluish-purple color, was open in a snarl. On his left arm was the face of a very beautiful woman. She had long black hair, black eyes, and, from what Naruto could tell, pale skin. She was also smiling. Who are these 2? Naruto asked, gesturing to the tattoos. Well, the tattoo on your right arm is my devil form. That's what I really look like. As for the woman, I believe her name is Makoto Uchiha. As for why she is the storage tattoo for Yamato, I think I can answer that. Yamato is a sword used to protect the ones you care about. It's the reason I took it from Virgil. He used it to attack his brother, not protect him. So, Makoto must be the one most humans call your soulmate, he explained. Naruto gaped. You're saying Makoto Uchiha is my soulmate? Naruto asked. Sparta nodded. First off, she's married. Second, she's like 30. Love knows no age. I am much older than your grandmother, but we loved each other very much. As for the married part, don't you worry about that. Certain circumstances are about to unfold that will bring the 2 of you together. But what do you? Naruto was stopped from continuing by Sparta placing his hand on Naruto's head. Quiet, Naruto. All will be explained in time. For now, rest. When you awaken, you will have someone who will love you. Naruto promptly passed out, Sparta catching him before he fell. He carried Naruto back into his bedroom, laid him on his bed, and turned towards the window. Sleep well, Naruto. Always remember, you must protect your loved ones with the strength of the devil within, he said, and vanished in the same void he appeared in. Uchiha clan compound. I am sorry, Ka-san, Itachi said, walking over his father's corpse, blade in hand. Why, Sochi? Makoto asked, scared. You don't need to know. Itachi brought the blade down upon his mother, tears streaming from his eyes. He never felt the blade sink into flesh, however, as a man wearing a purple jacket had grabbed the blade, stopping it completely. Who are you? Itachi asked. I am Sparta, the legendary Dark Knight. I have come to make a deal with you, Itachi Uchiha. What kind of deal? Itachi asked. One in which your mother would be spared. Sparta replied, making Itachi's eyes widen. "What are you talking about?" Makoto asked the man standing in front of her. "I will take your mother to her soulmate. He will protect her, love her, keep her safe." "And what would you have me do?" "You said, deal? What price would I have to pay?" Itachi asked. "You both have a price to pay. You, Itachi, will have to make your brother believe that Makoto is dead. And you, Makoto, must not interact with Sasuke at least until he graduates the academy. Understand?" he asked, getting a nod from Itachi. Sparta turned towards Makoto. "What about you? This all depends on you. If you'd rather die than be with your soulmate, I can always let Itachi kill you," he said, looking at her. To Makoto, it felt as if he was looking through her. "What's he like?" she asked, after some hesitation. "He is kind. He will keep you safe and never harm you. You have no reason to fear him, as he has no reason to fear you. In time, you will come to love each other," he said. She nodded. "All right. Take me to him," she said. Sparta held his left hand out to her and held his right to Itachi. They both grasped them. "Deal," he said, and there was a bright flash of light and Sparta and Makoto disappeared. Itachi looked around. He heard Sasuke approaching. "Time to fulfill my end of the bargain," he said, his eyes becoming the Mangekyo Sharingan. Sparta stepped out of the void he created in Naruto's apartment, carrying an unconscious Makoto bridal style. He carried her into Naruto's bedroom, careful not to wake either of them up. He laid her next to Naruto, and she immediately snuggled up to him. Naruto put his arms around her in response. Sparta smirked upon seeing their necks glow dully. "The marks have been activated. Looks like I was right," he thought. "See you in the morning, kids," he whispered before disappearing back into the void. Naruto's bedroom. Next morning, Naruto woke up with his face hitting something very soft and warm. Still half asleep, he snuggled further into the soft pillows. Makoto woke to two sensations. One was something snuggling into her breasts, and the other was something poking her nether regions. She looked down to see a silver-haired boy snuggling into her breasts. She actually shocked herself in that she didn't want to push him off. Instead, she wrapped her arms around his head, pushing him further in between her fabulous mounds. Warning, lemon alert. Naruto felt a pair of arms wrap around his head. Still half asleep, his baser demonic instincts took over. He used his teeth to rip apart the shirt that she was wearing, and began to kiss the flesh that was now revealed. He kissed, nipped, and licked at the flesh between her breasts, earning him S from the woman beneath him. He started to move towards her neck, never stopping his ministrations. Makoto ed even louder when he skidded his canines across the made mark on her neck. Naruto, spurred on by Makoto's S, moved down to her breasts, pulling them free from the black bra she wore. He latched his mouth on her right breast, licking and ing her, while gently kneading the other one. Makoto was not sitting idle through this. Far from it. She moved her hand down to Naruto's boxers and slipped her hand inside. She then proceeded to slowly stroke him off, earning her a light groan from the sliver-haired boy. This continued for about 5 minutes, Naruto switching breasts every so often, and Makoto's hand slowly speeding up, before Naruto's hand that wasn't fondling Makoto's breasts began to head south. He slipped one of his fingers inside her, making her even louder. Naruto slipped another finger into Makoto, and she sped up her ministrations in kind. Eventually, Naruto felt Makoto's walls contract, and Makoto ed louder than ever before. Naruto pulled his fingers out when she relaxed, then ceased his attention to her breasts, earning him a mule of disappointment. Makoto ed. Even though he hadn't finished growing, Naruto was still fairly large for his age. Added with his recent growth spurt, he was roughly 6 inches in length. He started slow, but progressively sped up. Makoto's S got louder and louder. She was bucking her hips, meeting his thrusts. Both were speeding up, losing themselves in the sensations. Naruto's thrusting soon became erratic. Makoto wrapped her legs around his waist, preventing him from pulling out, and allowing him to hit deeper within her. Within minutes, Naruto and Makoto both came, Naruto with a roar, Makoto with a howl. Naruto collapsed back into Makoto's wondrous valley. Makoto wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck, pulling him further into her chest. Naruto in turn wrapped his hands around her waist, his hands grasping her ass. They both sighed in content, before slowly slipping back into unconsciousness. End of Lemon. Naruto's bedroom, 1 hour later. Naruto woke up, hearing a woman ing. He looked up from his pillow to see Makoto Uchiha opening her eyes. He shifted slightly, only for her to again and him to feel slight pleasure. He looks down to see that the two of them are connected still. Memories of their time together begin to flood his head. Seeing Makoto slowly coming to, Naruto moved up, moving his face to hers. He proceeded to kiss her. Makoto was waking up from her pleasurable time with the silver-haired boy when she felt more pleasure. She opened her eyes slightly to reveal said boy looking up at her, his face between her breasts. Said boy then proceeded to kiss her. Makoto woke up fully at that. She began kissing back, pulling him towards her, putting a hand on the back of his head. She slipped her tongue in his mouth, with him quickly returning the favor. Before they could continue, however, they heard a voice. "Before you continue, I have to talk to you too," Sparta said. Makoto blushed, whereas Naruto growled. "Damn it, Oji-san, you have the worst timing," he said, moving himself so that Sparta didn't see anything private of Makoto's. "Oh Oji-san?" Makoto said, looking between Naruto and Sparta. "Yes. He is my grandson, as well as your soulmate," Sparta said. Makoto looked down at Naruto, who was smiling. "Yup. My name's Naruto, Makoto-chan," Naruto said, kissing her lightly. "Naruto-kun," she said, blushing. She then noticed that Naruto had began to look at her funny. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Your hair is a different color. And you look younger," he said, shocking Makoto. She stirred, signaling for Naruto to get off of her. He did, but not before glaring at Sparta, making him avert his eyes. Makoto grabbed the bed sheet and wrapped it around her, heading quickly to the bathroom. When she looked into the mirror, she was shocked. Naruto was right, she did look younger, about 10 years younger, to be precise. She looked like she did when she was 23. She also noticed that her hair was a dark silver in color, getting darker closer to the tips. She examined her body, to see what else had changed. The first thing she noticed was that she had a strange mark on the lower part of her neck. It looked like a tattoo in the form of a skull, with the Sharingan for its eyes. She also noted that her bust was larger. She was a C before, now she guessed she was a D. Every part of her body, save her breasts, had turned to what they were when she was 23. Rewrapping the sheet around her, she walked back into the room and saw Naruto sitting on the bed, wearing his boxers, looking at her. She sat down next to him, and looked at Sparta. "What happened to me?" she questioned, Sharingan blazing. "Calm yourself, Makoto-san. I have done nothing to you. That mark did," Sparta said, gesturing towards the mark on her neck. "What is it?" she asked. "It is your mate mark. That mark connects you and Naruto. He has one as well." Makoto turned to see Naruto feeling his neck. Sparta was right. He did have a mark. His was different, however. His was 3 swords surrounding a face in a triangular pattern. Upon closer inspection, she noticed that the face in the center was her face. "Huh," Naruto said, rubbing the mark. "Who put this mark on me?" "No one. It automatically appeared when you got near Naruto. That proves that the two of you are mates. As for the change, it happened when you consummated the mating an hour ago. You are now a devil, like Naruto, like myself," Sparta said, making Makoto's eyes widen. "A devil," she said. This time Naruto answered. "Yeah, a devil. But it doesn't make you a monster or anything. It refers to a species, like calling someone human. No difference, really," Naruto said, making her look at him. "So, you're a devil? What exactly does being a devil mean?" she asked. "Well, for one, it makes you basically immortal. You won't age, but you can be killed. It's just insanely hard to do so." "What do you mean?" "Well, you can get stabbed through the heart, and it won't kill you. Basically, the only way to kill a devil is to decapitate them." "Wow, yep, your senses are also enhanced and you have super strength. Anything to add, Oji-san?" Naruto asked, looking towards Sparta. "Actually, yes. These are also things I never told you about, Naruto, so pay attention. Those of my bloodline have the unique ability known as Devil Trigger. As we have human forms, and very strong devil blood, we can transform into our demon forms without any sort of side effect. Makoto, you have this as well, as Naruto is the one who turned you. Sparta explained. Cool. Naruto remarked, wondering how strong he'd be in devil trigger form. Makoto didn't say anything, merely listening. There is also a way to obtain power from defeating particularly strong demons or devils. On occasion, upon defeating a very strong demon or devil, their soul will stay, reforming as a weapon. These weapons are called devil arms. Technically, Force Edge could be considered a devil arm, as it is the physical manifestation of my power. Cool, Naruto remarked again, looking at Force Edge. So, does this mean that I'll be able to use your power when I use Force Edge? Naruto asked. Not right away. I sealed my power in that blade. It can only be awakened under special circumstances, Sparta replied. Okay, you're probably not even gonna tell me what those circumstances are, so I won't ask. So, what happens now? Naruto asked. I shall return in 1 year's time, and I will give you your own blade, Makoto-san. I'd like to see a great-grandchild by then, Sparta said, getting a blush from the two of them. Ero Oji. Naruto said. Sparta merely chuckles in response. Earlier you said that I couldn't interact with Sasuke. You said he had to think I was dead, so wouldn't it be strange for people to be talking about seeing me? Am I supposed to stay here forever? Makoto asked. Not really. You could, but you'd miss out on quite a bit, so, like Naruto, I've given you the ability to shapeshift. You, unlike Naruto, will have more than one form. You will be able to change the color of your eyes and hair, as well as skin tone. You will also be able to change your facial structure. No one will be able to recognize you. Sparta explained, getting a nod from Makoto. Thank you, Oji-san, Makoto said, making Sparta smile. Hey, Oji-san, how do I use the devil trigger? Naruto asked. You'll have to figure that one out on your own, Naruto. I must be going, now. I will return in precisely 1 year. I want to see a great-grandchild by then. Farewell, Sparta said, disappearing into the dark void even as Naruto throws a pillow at his head, shouting, Ero Oji. When the void dissipated, Naruto and Makoto looked at each other. Makoto started, not really sure what to say. How do you start a conversation with an 8-year-old boy you just found out is your soulmate? Makoto-chan, Naruto said, turning her to face him. Why yes? She said, blushing. I think we need to go shopping. He said, you need more clothes, and I need new clothes too. Seeing as I've hit a recent growth spurt. He said, smirking at the last part. Okay, but I'm gonna have to find a shirt before we leave, seeing as you ripped my old one off. She said. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. What can I say? I was horny, and it was in my way. He said, making her blush, but giggle. She kissed him lightly. You could borrow one of my shirts, but it might be a little tight, he said. She stood up, dropping the bed sheet, showing her naked body to Naruto, and headed to the closet, giggling at the wolf whistle Naruto let out. She pulled a shirt out of the closet and tried it on. It hugged her body, but it wasn't tight. She walked out to get the rest of her clothes. Hot damn, Naruto said, making Makoto blush. She gathered the rest of her clothes and removed the shirt, making Naruto say, yes. She turned to Naruto. Where's your shower? She said, holding her clothes. Naruto stood up and led her to the bathroom. She laid her clothes down and turned to see Naruto standing in the doorway. Lemon alert. Care to join me? She asked, only slightly kidding. Naruto was instantly next to her, his arms around her waist. He kissed her, slipping his tongue in her mouth. She instantly responded, kissing back with just as much passion. The two fumbled their way to the shower, after Makoto removed Naruto's boxers. Stepping inside, Naruto turned the water on, letting it hit them. The cold water instantly made Makoto's ass hard. Naruto immediately took the left one in his mouth, licking and nipping at the sensitive nub. Makoto edged and slid her hand down to Naruto's member, stroking it. She sped up her ministrations and began running her fingers through Naruto's hair. Said boy groaned in response, and switched to the other breast, moving his left hand down to Makoto's waiting. He slipped his finger inside, making her even more. Naruto-kun, she breathed out. Naruto added a finger and began to move them faster, making Makoto louder. Naruto-kun, please, she said. Naruto pulled his fingers out and removed his mouth from her breasts. Makoto turned around and put her hands up against the shower wall, sticking her ass out. Please, she repeated. Naruto nodded and slowly pushed himself inside her, groaning in pleasure. Makoto ed loudly, welcoming the intrusion. Naruto thrusted himself inside her, slowly at first, but progressively sped up. Makoto's breasts jiggled with each thrust, and Naruto wasted not time in grabbing them. He fondled them, while speeding up his thrusts even more. Makoto was now howling in pleasure. She was bucking her hips, meeting Naruto's thrusts. Both were moving fast, desperate for release. Naruto began to tease Makoto's ass, and the woman's ass increased even more. Her walls tightened around Naruto's member, trying to milk him of his seed. Naruto. Makoto. They both shouted, finding their release. Naruto slipped out of her when her walls relaxed. End of lemon. Wow, he said. Yeah. Makoto agreed, panting. Naruto turned Makoto around and kissed her gently. When they broke apart, Naruto smirked. I think we should actually shower now, he said. Makoto giggled and nodded. When they finished with their shower, Makoto began getting dressed, much to Naruto's disappointment, while Naruto headed into his room to get a new set of clothing. Makoto came out of the bathroom, fully clothed, to see Naruto also fully clothed, though his clothes, like the shirt on her, seemed tight. Shall we? He said, holding his hand out to her. Makoto smiled, taking Naruto's hand, and the two of them headed out of Naruto's apartment. Naruto and Makoto walked through the village, getting confused looks from various villagers, as they were unrecognizable to anyone who knew them before their respective changes. Naruto was wearing a black shirt with a flame in the center of it and black pants, which were now shorts due to his growth spurt. Makoto was wearing one of his plain white shirts, which was snug on her breasts, and a pair of his orange pants, which were more like hip-hugger shorts on her. They walked into a ninja shop, where they were greeted by a strong-looking man and 9-year-old girl sitting on the counter. How can I help you? The man asked. We need new clothes, Naruto said, gesturing towards their outfits. Of course, the man said. He gestured towards one of the many racks amongst the shop, one of which had clothes. So long as you pay, you can wear what you buy out. Thank you. Naruto and Makoto began to browse the store, looking through the clothes. Naruto found a purple trench coat, much like what Sparta wore. He looked around for shirts, and found a white buttoned shirt. He grabbed a pair of dark purple pants, and a black scarf, and headed to the changing room. When Naruto stepped out, he looked towards Makoto, who was blushing. Makoto was looking through the clothes in the female section when she looked towards the changing rooms and saw Naruto in his new clothes. The scarf was wrapped around his neck so that if he wished, he could hide his face with it. He was also wearing steel-toed combat boots and black gloves. She blushed. He was hot. She resumed looking for clothes, seeing Naruto headed towards her. See anything you like? He asked. Yeah, you. She said, looking at him with a loving smile. Naruto kissed her cheek. Let's find you something. Can't have you walking around naked, as much as I'd enjoy it, he said. She blushed, then resumed looking through the clothes. She eventually found 3 dresses. She also bought some Anbu armor. She came out of the changing room wearing one of the dresses. It was black, came down to just above the knee, and hugged her figure quite nicely. The top was strapless, showing her bust teasingly. A see-through fabric went over that, up to her neck, where it was hooked there by a choker. Naruto smiled. Beautiful as always, Haim, he said. She blushed. Naruto paid for the clothes, and the two of them left the shop. They headed back to Naruto's apartment. Once there, Makoto put her new clothes in Naruto's closet, removing what she knew would no longer fit him as well. Makoto-chan, Naruto said, getting her attention, I'm going to take you on a date tonight. I'll be back in a bit, I need to get everything ready, he said. Makoto nodded, and gave him a quick kiss before he left. Naruto came back into the apartment an hour later, seeing Makoto laying on the couch. He walked over to it and kissed her on the lips. She put her arms around his neck, pulling him deeper into the kiss. Naruto darted his tongue out, meeting her in a passionate tongue war. After a few minutes, they broke apart. "Come on, Makoto Haim, time for our date," he said. She stood up, straightening her dress, when Naruto put a blindfold on her. "Naruto-kun, what are you doing?" she asked, only to hear Naruto chuckling. Now, can't have you spoiling the surprise, Miko-chan," he said. He picked her up, carrying her bridal style, and began to head towards the Hokage monument. Hokage monument Yondaimi's head. Makoto felt Naruto finally put her down, and removed her blindfold. She saw that they were currently atop the Yondaimi's head, and she turned slightly to see a candlelight dinner table atop the head. "Naruto-kun, it's so beautiful," she said. Naruto smiled, then grabbed her hand and led her to the table. He pulled her chair out, and after she sat down himself. As they were eating, they got a fabulous view of the sun setting on the village. "So, you did all this for me?" she asked. "Of course I did, Makoto Haim. Anything for you." She smiled lovingly at him, and the two resumed eating. After the meal, the two sat on the edge of the head, Makoto in Naruto's lap, watching the sun set. When it was dark, Naruto cleaned up the table and the two of them headed to their apartment. They quickly headed to bed, after removing each other's clothes. As the bed was small, Naruto lay spooning Makoto, his head using her breasts for pillows. Makoto snuggled into her mate, sighing in content, before the two of them fell into blissful slumber. Naruto's apartment next day. Makoto woke up groggily, instantly noticing that Naruto wasn't in bed with her. She stood up and, completely ignoring the fact that she was naked, searched through the entire apartment for him. She walked into the kitchen and saw a note on the table. She picked it up and began to read it. "Makoto Haim, sorry I couldn't wait for you to wake up, but I had to get to the academy. I'll be home later. Maybe later we can look for a bed big enough for both of us. Not that I mind being so close to you." Makoto giggled at that. "I've used my shape-shifting to return to my old form, so if you're out in the village before I get home, look for a blonde kid wearing a bright orange jumpsuit. So, while I'm stuck in the academy, have fun. I'll see you when I get out. Love, your sexy devil." Makoto giggled at his sign, and blushed at what was under it. It was a chibi Naruto and a chibi version of her, doing things. "Ero Naruto-kun," she said, putting the letter back on the table. She went back into the bedroom and got dressed. She shifted her looks to that of brown hair, hazel eyes, and she shifted her face to make sure no one recognized her. She headed out the door. "I think I could get used to this," she thought. The sun crept through the window, hitting Naruto in the face. He turned his head, burying it further into Makoto's mounds. The door opened a crack and a small figure crept into the room. As soon as the figure reached the bed, it jumped onto the bed, landing on Naruto's stomach. Naruto was shocked out of his sleep from the impact. "Oof," he gasped out. He looked down and saw a 7-year-old girl bouncing on his stomach. "Morning, Chu-san," the girl said, grinning. Makoto, who was woken up from the noise, smiled. "Good morning, Tsubaki-chan," she said. Tsubaki crawled off of her father and went over to her mother and hugged her. Tsubaki had long silver hair that reached down to her butt. Her eyes were the same cerulean blue as her father's were. She looked exactly like her mother, save for those few differences. "Morning, Ka-chan," Tsubaki said, still grinning. Naruto sat up, rubbing his stomach lightly. "You're getting heavy," Naruto said, looking at his daughter. "I'm not," she replied, crossing her arms and looking away. "Tsubaki-chan, apologize to your Chu-san," Makoto said. "Sorry, Chu-san," Tsubaki said, looking down. Naruto pat her on the head, then kissed her forehead lightly. "It's all right, Tsubaki-chan. What do you want for breakfast?" he said. Tsubaki's head shot up. "Ramen," she shouted. Naruto chuckled. "Masumi, you can't have ramen for breakfast," Makoto chided. "But Ka-chan," Tsubaki begged. "Tsubaki," Naruto said, looking Tsubaki in the eyes. "Hi, Chu-san, Ka-chan," Tsubaki said, pouting. Naruto chuckled. Makoto got out of bed and put on a robe over her nightgown. Makoto hadn't really changed in the 7 years they've been together. "I'll go make something," Makoto said, kissing Naruto on the lips and Tsubaki on the cheek. All right, Naruto put on a pair of purple pants. Naruto had grown considerably over the years. He now appeared to be 20, though he was actually 15. Tsubaki grinned at her father. Chu-san, what are we gonna do today? Well, I've gotta get to the academy after breakfast. I'll be assigned to a team today, he said to his daughter, who nodded. You and your Ka-chan will be hanging out together today. The two of them walked into the dining room and saw Makoto in the kitchen. Tsubaki jumped into her seat, whereas Naruto headed over to his wife. He wrapped an arm around her waist and kissed her neck, making her quietly. Morning, Koishi, he whispered into her ear. Morning, Narukoi, she said, kissing him. Naruto pinched her ass, then moved back over to their daughter, grinning from the eep he got from his wife. As he sat in his chair, his mind wandered back to how he got this wonderful family. Flashback. Makoto sighed as she laid down on the sofa, rubbing her stomach lightly. She was waiting for Naruto to get back from the academy. She hadn't been feeling well for the past few days. After having Itachi and Sasuke, she knew why she felt this way. She just hoped Naruto was as happy as she was. Makoto Haim, I'm home. She heard Naruto shout. She smiled. In here, Naruto-kun, she called. Naruto walked into the room and sat down next to her, giving her a kiss. How are you feeling today? He asked. A little better. Naruto-kun, I have something to tell you, she said. Naruto grasped her hand gently. What is it, Haim? He asked. You know how I've been sick the past few days. Seeing him nod, she continued. Well, I've only felt like this way 2 other times in my life, so I know why. Naruto-kun, I'm pregnant. Naruto was gaping. She was pregnant. Was she happy or was she mad at him? His mind was racing. So Naruto did the one thing all men do when they suddenly find out they're going to be a father. He fainted. 10 minutes later, Naruto came to, and the first thing he saw was his girlfriend's face. She looked concerned. He sat up. You're pregnant? Yes. Are you happy? She asked. Naruto smiled lightly, lifted her chin so she looked into his eyes. He kissed her lovingly. The woman I love is going to have my child. How could I not be? Makoto hugged him tightly, crying from happiness. Aishiteru, Naruto-kun, she whispered. Aishiteru, Makoto-chan. He responded softly. The two stayed like that for a while. Naruto pulled back and kissed her. He looked her in the eyes, pulling away from the kiss. Will you marry me, Makoto-chan? He asked. Makoto wrapped her arms around his neck and pulled him into a passionate kiss. He responded back, darting out his tongue, licking her lips. She opened her mouth, letting him in, darting out her own tongue, exploring each other's mouths. After a few more moments, they separated. Is that a yes? He said, smiling. She giggled and kissed him lightly. Yes, I would love to marry you. The two sat together, content in their love for the moment. End of flashback. Makoto laid down the food on the table. Tsubaki immediately dug into her food, shoveling it down. She has her father's appetite, Makoto mused. Naruto was eating slower than his daughter, but still not at a pace that could be considered slow. Makoto ate her food slowly, unlike her husband and daughter. When Naruto finished his food, he headed into their bedroom to get dressed. He came out fully clothed and kissed his family, Makoto on the lips, Tsubaki on the forehead, and left for the academy, quickly shifting back into his old form. As Naruto was making his way to the academy, he thought back to how he met his brother and sister. Flashback. Naruto made his way into the academy. When he opened the door to his classroom, he was surprised at what he saw. Baruka was making out with a purple-haired woman wearing a mesh shirt under a brown trench coat and an orange miniskirt. Am I interrupting? Naruto said, raising his eyebrow. Baruka turned his head so fast Naruto thought he snapped his neck. Naruto, what are you doing here? Class doesn't start for another hour, he said. The woman growled. Damn it, Gaki, you've ruined my alone time with Iruka-kun. The woman said, tossing a kunai at the boy. Both Iruka and the woman were shocked, however, when Naruto disappeared, as did the kunai. Both then heard a dull thunk. They turned to see Naruto standing next to them, with the kunai embedded in the desk. Not nice, he said. He then grinned. I think we'll get along quite nicely. He stuck out his hand. Naruto Uzumaki. The woman raised her eyebrow, then shook his hand. Anko Mitarashi. Hey, Baruka-sensei, I actually have a reason for coming here early. I need you to come with me to my apartment after class. Why? Baruka asked. Well, I need to tell you something, and you'll only believe me if I show you. Baruka nodded. Hey, Gaki, can I come, too? Anko asked. Naruto nodded. When the day was over, the three of them made their way to an apartment complex. Hey, Naruto, I thought you lived in the poorer district. Baruka said. I did, but I needed to move to a larger and nicer apartment. I'll explain everything later. The two nodded, choosing to save any questions after Naruto's explanation. Naruto opened the apartment door. He let the two of them in, and they heard a voice that made them freeze. Narukoi, is that you? Makoto asked from the kitchen. Yeah, Haim, it's me. We have guests, but keep your normal form. I trust them. Naruto turned towards Iruka and Anko. Understand this, you two. What you are about to see and hear cannot leave this room. If you tell anyone without my permission, I will be forced to kill you. Do you understand? They both nodded. Naruto's body began to shift. His body grew, his hair turned silver, and his clothes changed. He was now wearing a purple trench coat with a white buttoned shirt, purple pants, a black scarf wrapped around his neck, black gloves, and steel-toed combat boots. Naruto led them to the living room, where they sat on the sofa next to each other. Naruto sat in one of the chairs. As you can see, I'm not the Naruto everyone knows me as. This is the real me. The two were in shock at seeing and hearing the real Naruto speak. He looked like a teenager, not an 8-year-old. And Naruto, what happened to you? Baruka asked, finally getting over his shock. The thing is, Baruka-sensei, I'm not human. Naruto said. Baruka's eyes became saddened. Naruto, no matter what the villagers tell you, Naruto promptly cut him off with a wave of his hand. Not like that, Baruka-sensei. They were dead wrong about me. I'm not a demon, I'm a devil. A devil is far stronger than a demon, no matter what demon it is. A devil, like myself, is stronger than Kyuubi, the strongest Biju. Baruka and Anko's jaws dropped. Makoto walked in. I take it you told them? She asked, sitting in Naruto's lap. He nodded, kissing her lightly. They looked at Iruka and Anko. The two seemed even more shocked at the kiss. I guess I should explain this, too. This is my fiancé, Makoto. Makoto, as in, Makoto Uchiha. Anko asked. Makoto nodded. Yes, I used to be Makoto Uchiha. Now, I'm Naruto's lover, soon-to-be wife. She punctuated wife with a kiss on Naruto's lips. After they got over the shock, Naruto explained to Anko and Iruka exactly what a devil is, as well as everything that had happened since he met his grandfather. In short, he told them everything. This is a lot to take in, Naruto. But why did you tell us? Baruka asked. Makoto began rubbing her stomach affectionately. Because, Baruka, I'm going to be a father. Baruka's eyes widened considerably. Why you're gonna be a father? Baruka managed to say. Naruto nearly nodded. Yes, and I want you to be the godfather. Naruto said, smiling faintly, as was Makoto. Why me? Because you're the only one in Konoha who treats me like family. I trust that you would treat my child no differently. Naruto said. Makoto smiled. I agree, and Anko, I want you to be its godmother. Anko's eyes widened even further than Iruka's. Me, why? I barely know the Gaki. She said. Yes, but I know how you're treated in this village. You would raise our child with care, and you would treat it like family. So, will you accept? They asked. Anko and Iruka looked at each other, then back to the couple. Yes, they said at the same time. After a few more moments, Anko and Iruka stood up to leave. Before they did, Naruto stopped them. Remember, you cannot tell anyone of anything you saw or heard here. That includes my true form, Makoto, our child, you understand? We understand, Naruto. See you at the academy tomorrow. Baruka said. He and Anko left their apartment, shutting the door behind them. Naruto locked it, and Makoto motioned him to come over. She kissed him. It's time for bed, she said. Naruto raised his eyebrow, looking at the clock. It's 8 o'clock, he said. Who said I was tired? She said, pulling him to their bedroom. Now then, clothes off, now. Naruto chuckled. Yes ma'am. End of flashback. Naruto was halfway to the academy, his mind still replaying the events of how his family came together. He thought back to how Tsubaki's grandmother came into the picture. Flashback again. Naruto walked into his apartment, fluidly shifting into his true form. He walked further into the apartment when he felt a pair of hands cover his eyes. Hey, Makoto-chan. He heard her giggle. Hey, Naru-kun, how about we go out on a date tonight? She asked, turning him around to face her. He kissed her nose. Of course Miko-chan. The two got ready for their date and headed out of the village in their true forms. They headed for Tanzaku-gai, where they found a very nice restaurant per bar. They headed into the restaurant part and sat down. They gave their orders to the waitress. Makoto ordered the subuta, sweet and sour pork, and Naruto ordered the goya chanpuru goya, pork stir-fry, and a bottle of red wine. The waitress wrote down their orders and left to give them to the chef. So, Makoto-hime, any idea what you want to name the baby? Naruto asked as they waited for their food. Well, Naruto-kun, I was thinking that if it's a girl, we could name it Tsubaki, after my mother, and if it's a boy, we could maybe name it Minato, after your father, she said, smiling at her fiancé. Naruto smiled back. I think that's a great idea, Koichi, he said. Suddenly, Naruto heard a pig squeal. Confused, he turned to the door to see a big-breasted, blonde-haired woman walk in, with a black-haired woman holding a piglet following close behind. Tsunade-sama, please slow down, the black-haired woman said to the blonde. The two of them took a seat next to Makoto and Naruto's table. After Naruto and Makoto's food arrived, Naruto spoke to Tsunade. You're Tsunade of the Sannin? He asked. She turned to face him. Yeah, what do you want? She asked in an impatient tone. Your godson isn't dead. Her eyes widened. She stood up, almost knocking over her chair. What? She almost shouted. Naruto put up a hand calmly. Calm yourself, Tsunade. Not now. I will tell you after my fiancé and I finish our food. Tsunade glared at him. Glaring at me won't make me finish our food faster. Please sit down. You're making a scene. Tsunade sat down. After Naruto and Makoto finished their food, they led Tsunade and her assistant to a hotel room. After they all entered and Naruto shut the door, Makoto put up a sound barrier. As soon as Naruto shut the door, Tsunade grabbed him by the collar. Now, what do you mean my godson is still alive? He died almost 10 years ago, she shouted. Naruto remained impassive. He gripped her wrist and effortlessly pried her hand off of his collar, making her eyes widen. Please try to remain civil during this discussion, Tsunade-san. It won't end well for you if you continue being hostile, Makoto said, sitting next to Tsunade's assistant on the sofa. That a threat? No, a warning. I am much more powerful than I look, and with you being out of practice, he let the statement hang. Tsunade glared at him again. Naruto sighed, then motioned for her to sit. She sat on one of the chairs in the room, Naruto doing the same. Now, I know for a fact that your godson is still alive. I know this because he's in this very room, he said. Tsunade's eyes widened. That's impossible. No way are you Minato and Kushina's son. You look nothing like either of them, she shouted. Really? Then does this, he shifted into his old form, look like I'm their son? He asked. Using a henge to change your form doesn't convince me, Kai, she said, trying to break Naruto's transformation. Why won't the henge break? She said to herself. Because it's not a henge, Naruto stated, shifting back into his true form. It's a transformation. Both are the real me. I'm changing my body's structure, not placing an illusion. It's real. That was my old form, before I awoke to my true power. The me you see now is the real me, but so far only Makoto Haim, you two, and two others have seen the real me. Everyone in Konoha knows me as Naruto Uzumaki, the dead last of the Ninja Academy. Tsunade's eyes widened when Naruto said his name. You Uzumaki, you're Kushina-chan's. Yes, I'm her son. My full name would be Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, I guess. Before he could continue, he was pulled into a bone-crushing hug from Tsunade, who was sobbing. Naruto nearly hugged her back with as much force, surprising her. After the heartfelt moment, Naruto began explaining his life, starting with his heritage. At the end of his explanation, Tsunade and her assistant, Shizune, were gaping. Tsunade stood from her chair and hugged Naruto again, which he returned. After they separated, she looked to Makoto. "So, you're pregnant with his kid, huh?" she asked, pointing to Naruto. Makoto nodded. "Yes, and we want you to deliver it," she said. Tsunade smiled. "I'd be honored. Remember, you can't tell anyone about this," Naruto said. They both nodded. "Of course, contact me when you guys decide on a wedding date," she said. Naruto and Makoto smiled, then nodded. End flashback. Naruto was in front of the academy when he thought about his wedding day, when he got to marry the most beautiful woman in the world. Flashback. Naruto was currently standing in front of the fire daimyo. He had called in a favor that he owed his father, and the daimyo was quite surprised to find that the Namikaze had a son. He had been all too happy to marry Naruto and Makoto, as well as keep it a secret until Naruto was ready to reveal it. Naruto was currently wearing a dark purple kimono with the crest of Sparta on the back. It was a golden skull with 3 swords around it in a triangle pattern. Tsunade and Shizune were standing to the left, while Anko and Iruka were on the right. Naruto heard the music begin, and turned to see Makoto, smiling, wearing a beautiful snow-white kimono. She walked up to Naruto and the fire daimyo began the ceremony. The two of them said their vows, and Naruto happily kissed his wife. Tsunade and the others decided to have a small reception for the newlyweds, and all were enjoying it. Naruto and Makoto were dancing, Tsunade and Anko were drinking, Iruka and Shizune were trying to get them to quit, and the fire daimyo was laughing at them. Naruto and Makoto eventually sat down by their family. "So, Naruto, how's it feel, being married?" Iruka asked. "Amazing. When are you and Anko gonna tie the knot?" Naruto asked, causing Iruka to blush. "Yeah, Iruka-kun, when?" Anko asked, causing him to start stuttering. Naruto and Anko started laughing. "Calm down, Iruka-kun. We're just messing with you," Anko said, wrapping her arm around his neck. Suddenly, Makoto gasped. "Naruto-kun, the baby just kicked," Makoto said excitably. Naruto put his hand on Makoto's stomach and felt it kicking. He smiled as it continued kicking. "Looks like it's got my energy, huh?" he said to his wife. "We're gonna have some trouble when it can walk," she said, giggling. "Makoto, have you been checked out by a doctor?" Tsunade asked. Makoto shook her head. "I haven't had any problems so far, probably due to my now being a devil, but I'd like it if you could give me a checkup tomorrow." Tsunade nodded. After the party was over and everyone headed to their hotel rooms that the daimyo had purchased for them, Naruto and Makoto were laying in bed together. "Naruto-kun, do you want to know what sex the baby is when Tsunade checks me out?" Makoto asked. "Do you?" "Yes. All right then, we'll ask her tomorrow," Naruto said. The two of them drifted off to sleep. The next day, they were in a hospital room, and Tsunade was running a few tests on Makoto. Eventually, she told them that Makoto was healthy and the baby was all right. Makoto asked Tsunade if the baby was a boy or girl. Tsunade performed a few hand signs and put her hands on Makoto's stomach, her hands now glowing green. After a few moments, she pulled back her hands and smiled at the couple. "Well, it looks like you're going to have a baby girl," Tsunade announced. Makoto rubbed her stomach affectionately. "Tsubaki-chan, that what you're going to name her?" Tsunade asked. Naruto nodded. Tsunade smiled. "It's a great name. Thanks," they both said. Later that day, Naruto, Makoto, Anko, and Iruka were about to head back to Konoha. "Be sure to contact me if the council or the Hokage give you any trouble," the fire daimyo said. Naruto nodded, shaking the man's hand. "And be sure to contact me when the baby's ready. I'll be staying closer to Konoha until then, so make sure I get notified." "All right, and when Tsubaki's born, I'm sure she'll want to see her, Ba-chan," Naruto said, grinning. Tsunade smiled, then nodded. After hugging Tsunade goodbye, the four of them headed back to the village. End flashback. Naruto waved at Iruka as he walked into the classroom. As he took his seat, he thought back to the birth of his little Tenchi, Tsubaki. Flashback last one. Naruto and Makoto were laying in bed together, asleep, when Naruto was suddenly kicked out of bed. Grumbling, Naruto stood up and looked at his wife, who was also awake. "What's wrong, Makoto Hime?" he asked. "Naruto-koi, go get Tsunade. My water just broke." Naruto zipped out of the room, appearing a few seconds later with Tsunade and Shizune, both fully awake at Naruto's shouting of, "The baby's coming." Into the guest bedroom, Tsunade and Shizune quickly went through all the preparations. "Ready, Makoto?" Tsunade asked. Makoto nodded, grasping Naruto's hand. "Push." As Makoto was pushing, she began squeezing Naruto's hand with all the strength her now devil body possessed, breaking every bone in his hand. If not for Naruto's healing factor, he was sure his hand would have been ripped off. This continued for what seemed like forever to Naruto, when Tsunade spoke up. "One last push, Makoto." With a final push, Makoto screaming, and Naruto's hand being broken yet again, the baby came out. After a quick smack was heard, and their daughter's cries broke the silence of the room. Tsunade handed the baby to Shizune, who cleaned her off, then wrapped her in a blanket and handed her to Makoto, who was now crying upon seeing her baby girl. "She's just as beautiful as her mother," Naruto said, putting a hand on Makoto's shoulder. The baby opened her eyes, and looked at her parents with the same cerulean blue eyes as her father. "But she has her father's eyes." Naruto kissed Makoto on the forehead. "You did great, Koichi." The two were completely focused on the new member of their family. Tsunade and Shizune smiled at the new family, silently excusing themselves after completing the procedures. "Welcome to the family, Tsubaki-chan." The next morning, Naruto and Makoto were awakened by a knocking on their door. Tsubaki, who was laying atop her mother, began to cry. As Makoto began trying to calm her down, Naruto went and answered the door, being greeted by the sight of Iruka and Anko, who had rushed inside after hearing Tsubaki. Naruto led his brother in, with said man apologizing for Anko barging in, which Naruto waved off. He led Iruka into their bedroom, with them both seeing Makoto and Anko playing with little Tsubaki, who was giggling now. Iruka put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. "Congratulations, Naruto." End flashback. Naruto smiled, remembering his Tenchi when she was just a baby. Iruka smiled slightly when he saw Naruto's smile. He had only seen Naruto smile like that when he married Makoto and when Tsubaki was born. After a moment, he quieted down the class using his demon head jutsu. "Now, then, since you all passed the exam yesterday, you will be assigned teams and senseis today," Iruka announced. True to his word, the graduation exam had happened the previous day. Naruto passed after killing Mizuki when he tried to take the Forbidden Scroll. Iruka began announcing the teams, starting with 1. He tuned them out until he heard his name. Team 7 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. After Sakura's fangirlish squeal subsided, Naruto spoke to Iruka. "Can I be on a different team?" "Sorry Naruto, Hokage's orders." Iruka gave an apologetic look to Naruto.
Knowing how he hated Sakura, he knew that Naruto would at least try to get along with Sasuke, for Makoto's sake, but he had a feeling that wasn't going to work out very well. Naruto grumbled and put his head on the desk. Iruka finished announcing the teams, and, eventually, Naruto and his teammates were the only ones left in the room. Sasuke was brooding, Sakura was fawning over Sasuke, and Naruto was flipping a throwing knife between his fingers. Eventually, the door opened and Naruto suddenly threw the knife with incredible speed, that surprised even the Jonin who just walked in, being forced to dodge. "There a reason you just tried to kill me?" the Jonin asked, pulling the knife out of the wall and handing it to Naruto, who stashed it inside his jacket. "Reflex. Sorry," Naruto said. The Jonin nodded. "Well, I'm Kakashi Hatake, your sensei. Meet me on the roof," Kakashi said before using Shunshin to head to the roof. Naruto nodded, standing up. He headed to the door, and a dark void appeared in the doorway. Naruto walked through, the void closing once he was inside, shocking the other two in the room. Academy rooftop. Kakashi sat down on the roof, figuring it would take time for them to get to the roof. He began to reach for his book when a dark void opened in front of him, shocking him. He was even more shocked when Naruto stepped out of it. "How did you do that?" Kakashi questioned the genin. "One sec." Naruto then shifted into his true form, cracking his neck. Kakashi was gobsmacked. Wah. Kakashi was unable to form words. "This is how. This is the real me." Naruto replied. "Why do you look so different?" Kakashi asked. "I awakened my Kekkei Genkai. It transformed my body and gave me access to a new type of chakra." Naruto explained. Kakashi only nodded. Naruto sat back, awaiting his so-called teammates. Eventually, they arrived. "Who are you?" Sakura said, pointing to Naruto. "I'm Naruto, who else?" he said, closing his eyes. "Liar. Naruto's a runt, and you look nothing like him." Sakura screeched. Naruto winced from her tone. "Damn it, Banshee, I have sensitive ears," Naruto said, rubbing the side of his head. "Sakura." Naruto awakened his Kekkei Genkai. "That's why he looks so different. Now, can we please move on?" Kakashi explained, motioning for them to sit down. "Now, why don't we introduce ourselves?" Kakashi asked. "Why don't you show us how it's done, sensei?" Sakura asked, making Naruto face palm. "And she's the kunoichi of the year," he thought. "Alright, my name is Kakashi Hatake. I have likes and dislikes, never really thought about my dream, but I have lots of hobbies," he ended, causing Naruto to chuckle. "I like this guy already," Naruto thought. "Alright, you first, Pinky," Kakashi stated, pointing to Sakura. My name's Sakura Haruno. I like looks at Sasuke, my hobbies looks at Sasuke, my dream looks at Sasuke and squeals. I hate Naruto baka," she ended, glaring at the silver-haired boy, who scoffed. "You hate me, you don't even know me," he said. "No one knows the real me, save for my family. Don't be so judgmental, Banshee," he finished with a glare, which caused her to flinch. "All right then, you next," Kakashi interjected, pointing to Sasuke, who responded with his typical, "HN. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I hate lots of things, and there is almost nothing I like. My dream, my ambition, is to resurrect my clan, and kill a certain someone," Sasuke said, his eyes taking on a dark look. Naruto rolled his eyes, and sighed audibly. Sasuke glared at him. "So, you're a typical revenge case, out to kill his brother cause he wiped out your clan, pathetic." Sasuke scowled at Naruto. "I see you're your father's son. Your mother would never scowl like that." Sasuke was about to charge Naruto, but Kakashi jumped up and put his hand on Sasuke's chest, holding him down. "Stand down, Sasuke." Still scowling, he relaxed, allowing Kakashi to sit back down. "All right, Naruto, your turn. My name's Naruto Namikaze. Likes, dislike, hobbies, dreams, that's about it," Naruto said, making his teammates look at him, and Kakashi I smiled. "I think I'm going to like this kid." Kakashi's eyes then widened. "Wait, did you say Namikaze?" Kakashi asked. Naruto nodded. "Yup, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki were my parents." "How do you know that?" "I'm not stupid, Kakashi, in spite of what the Hokage thinks. I used to look almost exactly like the Yondaime. As for my mother, we have the same last name. Just do a little research, and you'll find her," Naruto said. Kakashi could only nod at his explanation. "Okay, all that aside, you still have one more test. Meet me at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 10. "But I thought we already passed our tests," Sakura said. "That was just to weed out the ones who didn't have a chance." "Be there tomorrow," Kakashi said before using Shunshin to vanish from the roof. Naruto shrugged and vanished using that same black void. Naruto's apartment. Naruto reappeared in his apartment and was immediately tackled to the ground. "Chou-san," Tsubaki yelled excitedly. Naruto grumbled, standing up with his daughter. He heard a giggle and turned to see his wife smiling at him. He smiled back, lifting Tsubaki up. "Did you have fun with your Ka-chan today?" he asked the silver-haired girl, who nodded excitedly. "So you revealed yourself?" Makoto asked. Naruto nodded. "Yes, though I'm currently using the disguise of a bloodline. I'd like to keep our true heritage a secret for a little while longer, he told his wife. So whose team are you on, Chu-san? Tsubaki asked. I'm on the same team as your brother, he said. Really? Makoto asked. Naruto nodded again. How is he? He's turning into his father, he answered. Makoto looked down, saddened at the thought of losing her son. Naruto put Tsubaki down and walked over to Makoto, pulling her close to him and kissing her gently. She soon began kissing back, though it was kept brief. Naruto pulled back, still holding her. Don't worry, I'm going to do everything I can to keep him safe. And who knows, maybe I'll be able to snap him out of this stupid revenge thing. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Chu-san, Ka-chan, are we gonna spend the day together? Tsubaki asked her parents. They smiled. Of course, Tsubaki-chan. Go get ready. Tsubaki bolted for her room. Naruto chuckled, while Makoto went in after her to make sure she didn't make a mess. Eventually, they came out of Tsubaki's room. Tsubaki was wearing a pale blue sundress, while Makoto was wearing the same thing she had worn to her in Naruto's first date. The family headed out of their apartment, Tsubaki grabbing her parents' hands as they left. So, what do you want to do first, Masumi? Naruto asked his daughter. She grinned widely. Ichiraku's. I wanna see Oji-san and Ayame-ne. Tsubaki said. Naruto nodded. They quickly came upon the small ramen stand that held nothing but good memories for Naruto and his family. He had told Ayame and Chuki the truth shortly after Tsubaki was born. They had agreed to keep it a secret, and they were now considered part of the family. They headed in, and were greeted instantly by the waitress. Naruto, Makoto-san, Tsubaki-chan, great to see you. Ayame said, dashing over to hug them. After she greeted everyone, they sat at the bar, with Naruto and Tsubaki ordering their usual large amounts of ramen, with Makoto ordering a smaller amount. As they ate, they caught up with Ayame and Chuki, who had stayed in the front after helping Ayame carry the orders. After they finished their ramen and said farewell to the Ichirakus, with Naruto leaving a generous tip, they headed to a park that they often brought Tsubaki to. Tsubaki bolted towards the swings, pulling her parents with her. Naruto and Makoto took turns pushing their daughter on the swing while the other swung on another swing. After a while, Naruto and Makoto chose to sit on a bench while they watched their daughter run around the park. 3 kids walked up to Tsubaki. Naruto watched her intently. One of the boys said something Naruto didn't catch, and Tsubaki kicked the kid in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. As the kid's friends helped him up, the kid and Tsubaki got into a shouting match. Sighing, Naruto and Makoto got up to intervene. What's going on here? Naruto questioned. Tsubaki looked up at her father. This guy's being a baka, Tsubaki said, pointing to the kid she kicked. Naruto raised a brow. How so? He thinks, just cause he's the Hokage's grandson, he can do whatever he wants. Tsubaki said to her parents. Makoto pulled Tsubaki aside and proceeded to scold her for starting fights while Naruto dealt with the children. What's your name, Gaki? Naruto questioned. The kid frowned. Don't call me that, I'm Konohamaru Sarutobi, grandson of the Sandaime Hokage. The kid announced, sounding smug at the end. So you're the old monkey's grandson, Naruto mused. Well, regardless of your grandpa's position, you have no power of your own. Claiming to be able to do anything just because your grandpa's Hokage. That makes you arrogant, and my Masumi will not hesitate to beat the arrogance out of you, and I'm inclined to let her. Naruto explained, making Konohamaru look towards Tsubaki, who saw him look at her and grinned evilly, making him shiver. Naruto chuckled. Behave, kids, alright, he said, looking between the two of them. They both nodded. Naruto and Makoto walked back to the bench and sat down, now watching their daughter play with the other kids. In time, Konohamaru and his friends had to go home, promising Tsubaki they'd play together some other time. Naruto and Makoto were glad that Tsubaki had made friends. Due to their nature, Tsubaki didn't have any friends. Naruto was glad that Tsubaki was going to have a somewhat normal childhood, something he never had. The family headed back to their apartment. Naruto tucked Tsubaki in and went into his bedroom, seeing his wife coming out of their bathroom in her nightgown. He stripped down to his boxers and walked over to the bed. They got in bed, Makoto laying her head on Naruto's chest, him wrapping her arms around her. They both let out contented sighs, then drifted off to sleep. Naruto woke up hearing his daughter's rapid speaking to her mother coming from the kitchen. Smiling, he put on a pair of pants and headed into the kitchen, where he was greeted by his two tenshis. "Good morning, Chu-san Koishi." Tsubaki and Makoto greeted. Naruto smiled and kissed them, Tsubaki on the forehead, Makoto on the lips. He sat down next to his daughter, who smiled brightly at her Chu-san. He looked down at her, seeing her smile. He raised a brow. "What are you so happy about, Masumi?" he asked his daughter, who simply grinned in response. Confused, he looked to his wife for an answer. She shrugged. "She's been happy ever since she woke up. Won't tell me why," she said. They both looked down at their little tenshi, who was still smiling. Deciding not to dwell on it, Naruto ate the breakfast that Makoto made for him and got dressed. He walked out and smiled at his family. Tsubaki got out of her chair and jumped up to hug her father. After hugging the hyperactive girl, he moved over to his lovely wife. He gave her a loving kiss, massaging her rear as he did, outside of the sight of Tsubaki, of course. Makoto managed to hold down though her face was red when they separated. Grinning, he gave her one last peck on the lips and headed off to the training field, bidding his family goodbye. Training Field 7. "Where are those two?" Sakura complained. Kakashi and Naruto were almost 2 hours late. Sasuke sighed, just wanting her to shut up. A void suddenly appeared in front of them, and Naruto stepped out of it. Sakura did her usual banshee shriek, which Naruto promptly glared at her for. Not a minute after Naruto arrived, Kakashi arrived as well. "Oh, good, none of you chickened out," Kakashi said, smiling. Naruto rolled his eyes. "Can we just get on with this?" he asked, exasperated. Kakashi nodded and pulled 2 bells out of his pocket. "This is your test. You have until noon to get these 2 bells. If you don't get a bell, you will be sent back to the academy. You will also be tied to the stump." "That's it?" Naruto asked, brow raised. "I thought it was going to be something hard." "We'll see how hard it will be, won't we, Naruto?" Kakashi asked as he tied the bells to the side of his waist. "Begin." As soon as he said that, Sasuke and Sakura vanished in the woods. Naruto stayed right where he was. "You're not very bright, are you?" "I'm a lot smarter than people think, Kakashi, and those two are stupid if they actually think that they can hide from you. Hiding would be pointless, so I'm going for flat-out assault. Let's see if you can survive," Naruto said, pulling out a 2-sided bladed boomerang glaive from Blade movies. Kakashi looked uncaring, until Naruto almost cut his head off. Kakashi jumped back, not expecting Naruto to be able to move that fast. Naruto spun the strange weapon in his palm. "I'd advise you to actually try to win, Kakashi, or this will be a very short fight," Naruto stated as he charged again. Kakashi pulled out a kunai and clashed with Naruto's blade. Naruto struck out with the opposite end of the weapon and broke the clash, as well as cutting Kakashi lightly on the chest. Naruto charged again, clashing blades with Kakashi. Naruto used the clash to maneuver the blade to the right and elbow slammed Kakashi in the gut.
Naruto smirked and charged again. He threw the weapon at Kakashi with incredible speed. Kakashi barely dodged the weapon, it lightly cutting his side. Naruto bolted forward and stamp-kicked Kakashi to the ground. Picking up his weapon, Naruto vanished. Kakashi looked around and kept his guard up, not knowing that Naruto was no longer targeting him. With Sasuke, Sasuke was watching Naruto and Kakashi fight. He was livid that Naruto was capable of fighting, beating a Jonin and he couldn't. He was shocked when Naruto vanished, and suddenly appeared right next to him. "Hey, Sasuke, I've got an offer for you," he said, confusing Sasuke. "What could you possibly offer me, Dobi?" he said, trying to get under Naruto's skin. Naruto rolled his eyes. "You want to pass this test, right? Well, the true purpose of this test is to see whether or not we can function as a team. I am skilled enough to pass this test on my own, but if I'm the only one who passes, there'd be no team for me to work on. So, will you work with me?" he asked, only to have Sasuke sneer at him. "Of course not. I don't need anyone but myself. I can do this on my own. Sasuke shouted at the silver-haired teen, who sighed. I figured you'd say that. Can't say I didn't try. Your mother would be disappointed in you, Naruto stated, making Sasuke snarl at him again before Naruto vanished into the void. With Sakura had watched the fight as well, and was a bit scared that Naruto was stronger than their sensei. She nearly screamed when he appeared in front of her. Naruto Baka, what are you doing? She asked, startled. Naruto explained things to her the same way he did Sasuke. I already asked Sasuke, but the Baka refuses to let anyone help him. In his own words, I don't need anyone but myself. Naruto explained further, ignoring the shocked look on Sakura's face. So, you in? He asked. Sakura shook her head. No, Sasuke-kun wouldn't say something like that. She denied hopelessly. Naruto sighed. Just another fangirl, he stated, shaking his head as he disappeared into the void. With Kakashi was still on guard in case Naruto decided to attack again. The test is over, Naruto said behind him, making Kakashi turn around in surprise. What do you mean? My so-called teammates refused to help me, and Sasuke stated that he didn't need anyone. Since this test is about teamwork, we failed, in spite of me having these. Naruto said, holding up the bells. Kakashi looked to his side and saw that the bells were no longer there. I got them after I threw my glaive at you. It cut them off and I grabbed them when I picked up my glaive. You're right, this test is about teamwork, so your team fails. You, however, have passed in my eyes, Naruto. You saw the true purpose of the test and bested me in taijutsu. That's not an easy feat. I'll talk to the Hokage about this. Sakura, Sasuke, this test is over. Kakashi shouted. The two showed up not long after. What do you mean it's over, sensei? No one got the bells. Sakura said. Naruto rolled his eyes. Actually, Naruto got both of them. He told me that he told you both about the true purpose of this test, which is teamwork, and offered to help. You both basically spat in his face at his offer. Since Naruto has shown to be the only one of you who is worth passing, you will both be tied to the stump and sent back to the academy. I will take Naruto on as my apprentice. Kakashi tied them to the stumps as quickly as possible so that they couldn't protest. An Anbu suddenly appeared in front of them. Uzumaki-san, the Hokage requests your presence, the cat-masked Anbu stated. What for? Neko-chan, Naruto asked, familiar with the particular agent. I do not know, but it is urgent. Neko replied. Naruto nodded. I'll be there as fast as I can. Neko nodded and vanished. Naruto looked towards Kakashi. Sorry, sensei, looks like I've got business to attend to. Naruto said. Kakashi eyes smiled. No problem, Naruto. I'll talk to the Hokage about this later. Naruto nodded and vanished into the void. Hokage's office. Sarutobi was surprised when a void of pure darkness suddenly appeared in his office and a silver-haired man appeared out of it. What do you want, Gigi? Naruto asked, making Sarutobi smile. The voice was deeper, but it was indeed Naruto. Ah, Naruto-kun, I see that reports on your transformation are not exaggerated. I called you here because the council has been calling for your execution. Sarutobi stated. Naruto narrowed his eyes. I hope you realize that I'll kill anyone who tries to execute me. Naruto stated seriously. Sarutobi gulped, then nodded. Yes, I know, but the council is getting harder to keep appeased. Sarutobi explained. I don't know what to do at this point. You are the Hokage, Gigi. You hold absolute power. No one, save the daimyo, has more authority than you in this village. You want to know what to do. Put them in their place. Naruto shouted. Sarutobi was at a loss for words. Come on, a Hokage has the highest authority in the village. If it's that hard for you to do your job, then call in the daimyo. You know that so many people on your council are corrupt. He would destroy them in an instant. The daimyo is very busy, Naruto-kun. Yeah, I know, but if you tell him that they're going after the last Namikaze, I think he'd change his tune. Naruto stated, shocking Sarutobi. And Naruto, you knew, he said, shocked beyond belief. Naruto nodded. I've known since I was 8. Who told you? Sarutobi asked. That's privileged information. Information you aren't privileged to know. Naruto stated. Sarutobi was about to pursue the matter, but a sharp glare from Naruto made him drop it. Fine, but I can't just contact the daimyo. Sarutobi said. Naruto smirked. Then I'll do it for you. I have a direct contact with him. Naruto stated, making Sarutobi's eyes widen. How do you have a direct contact with the daimyo? Simple. He was the one who married my wife and I. Naruto stated. Sarutobi's jaw hit the floor. Wife. Sarutobi stated in shock. Yeah, I've got a family, Gigi. I want you to meet them. Come on, Naruto said as he opened another dark void and motioned for Sarutobi to step through. Don't worry, it's completely harmless. Naruto's apartment. Naruto stepped out of the void first and was immediately knocked to the floor by a familiar silver-haired ball of energy. Chiou-san. Tsubaki shouted in joy. She saw another person come out of the void and looked up at her father. Who's that? Chu-san. This is Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, or as I like to call him, the old monkey. Naruto explained. Tsubaki nodded with a grin on her face. Tsubaki-chan, what are you shouting about? Makoto asked as she came into the living room in her true form and saw Sarutobi, Naruto, and Tsubaki. Hokage-sama, what are you doing here? Relax, Makoto-chan, I brought him here. I want him to know about our family. He explained to his wife as he approached her and gave her a kiss, which she rapidly responded to. Hearing an ahem, Naruto turned around and saw Tsubaki smiling brightly at them, while Sarutobi was sporting a blush and a slightly bloody nose. Naruto examined their forms to notice that Makoto's face was bright red, likely because his hands were currently fondling her lovely rear. He grinned and gave it one last squeeze before breaking away from his wife. Sorry about that, Gigi. Meet my wife, Makoto. Makoto, wait a minute, Makoto Uchiha. I thought you were dead. I nearly was, but Naruto-kun saved me after his bloodline was awakened. Using it, he made me stronger, which is why I look younger and have silver hair. He kept me safe, and we fell in love, which resulted in our marriage and Tsubaki-chan here. Makoto said, hugging her daughter. Pretty amazing, huh? My bloodline is apparently unlocked through immense physical and emotional pain, which, thanks to the villagers, I had in spades. I kept all of this a secret to protect Makoto-hime and Tsubaki-chan, you understand. Sarutobi nodded sadly. But, Makoto-san, why did you abandon Sasuke? I didn't. Sasuke closed himself off from everyone when the clan was destroyed by Itachi. My suddenly not being dead would likely have broken his mind. I kept myself hidden to protect Sasuke as well, as Itachi might have come back to finish one of us off if word got out that there was a survivor. Also, I had Tsubaki-chan to take care of. Naruto-kun had to stay in the academy to keep up the appearance, so he wouldn't be able to do it by himself. Tsubaki-chan needed me more than Sasuke did. Makoto explained. Sarutobi nodded. Tsubaki walked up to Sarutobi, who kneeled down to better see her. Hello little one, oof, Sarutobi said as he hit the floor. Soon after he greeted Tsubaki, she promptly kicked the Sandaime in the nuts. That's for letting bad people hurt Chu-san, Tsubaki stated with a cute glare. Makoto carted her off to try and stop her from hurting the old man more, and Naruto wasn't making it any better, as he had busted out laughing as soon as Tsubaki's foot made contact. After Sarutobi recovered from Tsubaki's kick, he told Naruto why the council wanted him dead. Naruto was not surprised. I'll contact the daimyo. Given the nature of this incident, he should be here tomorrow. Think you can stall them until then? Naruto asked. Sarutobi nodded and stood up. Yes, I think I can do that. Good luck, Naruto, and I'm sorry for not helping you enough when you were younger. Sarutobi apologized. Naruto smiled and hugged the man. You're forgiven, old monkey, Naruto said with a grin. Sarutobi smiled. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I must be off. I still have to deal with the menace of paperwork. Sarutobi said. Hey, Gigi, why don't you use Kage Bunshin? Naruto asked. Sarutobi looked up at him and slapped himself on the head. Minato, you brilliant. That's how you did it. Sarutobi shouted before he raced off to his office. Naruto and Tsubaki began laughing. Makoto shook her head. Naruto-kun, Weren't you going to contact the daimyo? Makoto reminded. Naruto stopped laughing and nodded. He opened a void and kissed her. I'll be back. Behave yourself, Tsubaki-chan, Naruto said before he stepped into the void as it closed behind him. Daimyo's castle. The daimyo was working through some of his own paperwork when Naruto appeared out of the void in his office. Ah, Naruto-kun, nice to see you again. Do you need something? The daimyo asked. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I'm revealing my family. The Council of Konoha has forced my hand. I want you to be there. Naruto stated seriously. Does the Hokage know? The daimyo asked curiously, standing up. He does now. He told me about them and I showed him my family. He seemed all right with it. Naruto replied. Anyway, I need you to come to Konoha tomorrow. Think you can make it in time, or do you want me to get you there through the use of my void? I should be able to get there on my own. I will make it in time for the meeting, count on it. I will, Naruto said as he disappeared back into the void, leaving the daimyo to his work. Naruto's apartment. As Naruto stepped out of the void, he was tackled once more by his daughter. Why do you keep doing that, Tsubaki-chan? He asked his daughter as he stood up with her in his arms. 'Cause it's fun, she replied with his trademark grin. Naruto rolled his eyes. He turned to his wife and handed her Tsubaki, who was still smiling. Tsubaki-chan, you've been smiling all day, are you going to tell us why? Makoto asked her daughter as Naruto sat down at the table. 'Cause I'm gonna go hang out with Kono-kun today, she said happily. Kono-kun, Naruto repeated, summoning Yamato to his side and unsheathing it a little. Naruto-kun, they're just kids. Makoto reassured, moving over to her husband and grabbing the blade away from him. Hey, I was going to use that, he shouted. Makoto looked at him with the, wife, look. He sighed, fine, I won't kill him. Can I have my sword back? She handed him back the sword and he resealed it into his tattoo. He looked towards where Tsubaki was a moment ago, only to find her not there. She already left, didn't she? As soon as you drew Yamato. Damn it, oh, well, he looked up to his wife and grinned. So we've got the whole apartment to ourselves? He asked. Makoto grinned identically to him and straddled his lap. That's right, you know I've been wanting another kid, right? She asked. Naruto smirked. Yup, time to make Tsubaki-chan some siblings. Naruto said before he attacked his lovely wife's neck, making her. He lifted his wife up gently and carried her to the bedroom. 3 hours later, Tsubaki crept into the apartment quietly. She looked around and, seeing no one, she continued inside. She peeked into her parents' room and saw them both laying in bed under the covers, both with happy smiles on their faces. Tsubaki giggled and went into her own room. She changed into her pajamas and got into her bed, quickly falling asleep. The next morning, Makoto woke up to the sight of her husband looking down at her. Morning, Narukoi, she said with a yawn. He kissed her forehead. Morning, Haim. The two snuggled for a moment before Tsubaki's head poked through the crack of the door. Morning, Ka-chan, Chu-san. She greeted happily. They smiled at their daughter. Morning, Tsubaki-chan. They greeted back. Makoto shifted off of Naruto and sat up, the covers concealing the fact that they were both naked. Get dressed, Tsubaki-chan, we'll be out in a minute. Makoto told their daughter. Tsubaki nodded and dashed off to her room. Makoto and Naruto both got out of bed and headed for the bathroom. They showered together, though that was all they did, as Tsubaki was in the next room. After showering, they both go dressed, Naruto in his regular clothing, Makoto in a simple black dress. Tsubaki came out in a purple sundress with the crest of Sparta on the back. Tsubaki sat down at the table across from Naruto while Makoto made breakfast. What are we doing today, Chu-san? Tsubaki asked. We're going to reveal ourselves, Tsubaki-chan. You'll have more opportunities to hang out with Konohamaru, and we won't have to hide anything anymore. Naruto said. Tsubaki shouted in delight. Naruto smiled, as did Makoto at their daughter's happiness. Really, Chu-san, Naruto nodded. After eating breakfast, Naruto transported his family to the Hokage's office. Sarutobi looked up from the familiar orange book he was reading to see Tsubaki and Makoto glaring him. He quickly disposed of the book and returned to his professional demeanor. Naruto-kun, Makoto-san, Tsubaki-chan. Are you ready? He asked, ignoring Tsubaki's piercing glare. I guess she hasn't forgiven me, even if Naruto-kun has. Yeah, the daimyo here yet? Naruto asked. Not yet. He should be here within the hour then. Do you want to start the meeting anyway? Naruto nodded. We can handle it without him for now. Sarutobi summoned Neko and told her to gather the council members. She quickly did her job. Council chambers, members of the council, Sarutobi addressed, I have called you all here to make an important announcement. What sort of announcement, Sarutobi? Danzo asked, clearly not happy with being summoned away from his plotting. That's Hokage-sama to you, Danzo. Sarutobi replied, this announcement will have quite an impact on Konoha. The last Namikaze has revealed himself. The council gaped. He was thought dead, one member said, with others voicing similar statements. Bet you wish I was, Naruto said as he walked into the meeting. Several of the civilian council members snarled at the silver-haired teen. You have no place in this, boy, Danzo said coldly. Naruto rolled his eyes. Actually, I do. Weren't you listening to the old monkey? You're the Namikaze heir, Inoichi Yamanaka asked. Naruto nodded. Yup, I'm surprised no one else figured it out. I used to be a carbon copy of the Yondaime, minus the whisker marks. Turns out the Namikaze had a Keke Genkai that turned my hair silver and hyper-activated my body. Made me a lot stronger. Why didn't the Yondaime activate it? One civilian asked. Because this trait is activated by immense physical and emotional pain, something he never experienced an abundance of, but I did, thanks to the morons on the civilian council. Naruto explained, causing the shinobi council to glare at the civilians, who flinched from their battle-hardened glares. Naruto smirked. Now then, Naruto-kun, I believe that you had an announcement to make. Sarutobi said, breaking the silence in the room. Naruto nodded and looked back to the door he came through, making a, come here, motion. Makoto and Tsubaki stepped inside. They walked up to Naruto. Tsubaki hugged her to San, while Makoto kissed him. Both drew surprised gasps from the council members. Breaking the kiss, Naruto turned to face the council members, picking up Tsubaki and holding Makoto by the waist as he turned. Meet Makoto and Tsubaki Namikaze, my wife and daughter. Wife and daughter, you're 15. That girl can't be any older than 8 years old. A council member shouted. She's 7, you idiot. I'm fully aware of my age. My bloodline activated when I was 8. That was also when I met Makoto Haim. We fell in love, she got pregnant, we got married, Tsubaki-chan was born. Tsubaki-chan was born with my bloodline, for reasons we don't know, and if any of you even think of using her in a breeding program, I will kill you. Naruto stated darkly, a demonic aura surrounding him, successfully making most of the civilian council members faint and scaring everyone else. Makoto nudged her husband. Naruto-kun, if you knock out the council, you won't get your message across, she reminded. Naruto nodded, his aura dissipating. Tsubaki giggled at her parents. Wait a minute, I recognize that voice. Makoto-chan, Soon questioned. Makoto looked up at her old friend and nodded. Yes, I used to be Makoto Uchiha. And before any of you say anything, know that I am not an Uchiha anymore. I am a Namikaze, and damn proud of it. Makoto stated proudly. Naruto pulled her closer to him with a smile and Tsubaki reached for her mother, who took her from Naruto. So you abandoned Sasuke to be with this boy? One of the civilian council members said, snarling at Naruto. I didn't abandon Sasuke. Naruto-kun's bloodline awakened the same night that Itachi wiped out the clan. He nearly killed me, but Naruto-kun found me and saved me with his bloodline, which is why I look the way I do now. And think, Itachi must have had a reason for sparing Sasuke. If he discovered that I survived, he might come back to finish one of us off. Makoto explained. So you will go back to Sasuke-sama, a pink-haired civilian council member stated. Makoto looked at her like she was crazy, and Tsubaki glared at said woman. Weren't you listening? I am no longer Makoto Uchiha. I am Makoto Namikaze. Makoto stated firmly. I have a question though. Why have you been spoiling Sasuke? It's to ensure that the Sharingan doesn't leave Konoha. Danzo stated. Naruto rolled his eyes. You do realize that Sasuke has always planned to leave this village to kill his brother? He's been consumed by revenge. All he thinks about is killing Itachi. Good luck repopulating the clan with someone who only thinks about killing. Besides, it's not like the Sharingan is unbeatable. Makoto-chan and I have tested the limits of it. My bloodline's techniques can't be copied, so the Sharingan is virtually useless against me. It has nothing against a bloodline user, other than its enhanced sight, unless you've achieved Itachi's mastery with it. Naruto elaborated. Anyway, Sasuke shouldn't even be a shinobi. That little massacre heavily damaged his psyche. Didn't you do a psychological exam before you let him graduate? Konoha needs the Sharingan, another civilian shouted out. No, Konoha needs competent shinobi, and a council that knows its place. Naruto shot back. Watch your mouth, boy. Homura warned. Sarutobi cleared his throat. Naruto-kun is right, Homura. You forget your place. You do not decide what is best for Konoha, I do. This is not a democracy. I am this village's leader. You are all merely advisors. And as this village's leader, I am writing the chain of command. The civilian council is forbidden from dealing in shinobi matters from this moment forward. You can't do that, Hokage-sama. A civilian shouted out. Sarutobi glared at the man, making him cower in fear of the aged shinobi. I can't. Wrong. I can, and I have. Furthermore, I have let you three abuse your power for the last time. You are merely my advisors, nothing more. Overstep your authority again, you will be executed. Sarutobi stated firmly. His former teammates looked as though they were about to protest, but a glare from the aged cage shut them up. Naruto-kun is right. We need competent shinobi, not people who rely on one unique ability. Sarutobi, Kaharu tried. Silence. Sarutobi said coldly. You three are dismissed. The three elders reluctantly left the meeting, not wanting to test the limits of Sarutobi's patience. Now, Gigi, I believe we were discussing my inheritance. Naruto reminded. Sarutobi nodded. From this day forward, Naruto-kun and his family are recognized as the Namikaze clan. They will live in the Namikaze estate, and Naruto will now have access to all of his inheritance. Sarutobi stated. The shinobi council members smiled, while the civilians scowled. Nicely done, Hokage Dono. The daimyo said as he walked inside the chamber. Daimyo-sama, Naruto-kun asked me to come down here to set this village right. It seems that you are doing a fine job of that yourself, so I really have only one thing to say. Know that Naruto-kun and his clan have my full support. Naruto-kun himself has already grown into a fine young man. I expect great things from you, Naruto-kun. I'll do my best, Daimyo-sama. Naruto replied with his trademark grin. The daimyo smiled. Good, Hokage Dono, come with me. We have a few things to discuss about this village, the daimyo said as he walked out of the chamber. Sarutobi nodded. Meeting adjourned. Sarutobi followed after the daimyo. The civilian council members left rather quickly, afraid of what Naruto would do to them. Most of the shinobi council members simply expressed their apologies for not helping him when he was younger, which Naruto waved off, blaming it on the elders and civilians tying them up in politics. Su Minazuka, however, pulled aside Makoto while Naruto spoke with Hiyashi Hyuga regarding Naruto's bloodline. It's good to see you again, Sum-chan, Makoto said, happy to be able to talk to her old friend once more. Same here, but I just can't believe that you married Kushina-chan's kid, Sum said. Makoto blushed. I know, I thought that at first, too, but Naruto-kun is so sweet. He is everything a woman could ask for in a husband. He's always there for me and Tsubaki-chan. He's a wonderful husband, father, lover, and friend, Makoto said to her old friend, who smiled. I'm just glad you're happy, Makoto-chan, even if it's with someone who's like 20 years younger than you. Well, when Naruto-kun's bloodline saved me, it somehow managed to de-age me, Sum-chan. My body is physically only 23 years old, Makoto explained, making Sun's eyes widen. How? We don't know. It seems that his bloodline has superior cellular regeneration, which results in near immortality. We don't exactly want to test the limits of this healing. Sum nodded, then grinned. So, how's the gaki where it counts? He keeping you satisfied? Sume asked. Makoto blushed again. Very. As the two women continued their conversation, Naruto had finished discussing his bloodline with Hiyashi. The man was eager to learn about a bloodline that could surpass the Sharingan. Tsubaki jumped down from her father's grasp and ran over to her mother, who scooped her up into her arms. Tsubaki giggled as Makoto kissed her on the cheek. Sume-chan, this is Tsubaki-chan, our daughter. Sume smiled at the mini devil. Hello, Tsubaki-chan, I'm an old friend of your Ka-chan's. We were like sisters. Sume introduced. Tsubaki stared at the feral-looking woman, then looked at her mother, then back at Sume. So, does that make you my aunt then? Tsubaki asked innocently. Sume looked at Makoto, who smiled and nodded. Sume grinned. I guess it does. Tsubaki grinned like her father. Great, now I've got another Oba-san. Tsubaki cheered happily. Naruto walked over to his family and kissed his wife on the cheek. He looked at Sume. Another family member, he asked. Tsubaki nodded excitedly, making him chuckle. Well, you're welcome at the Namikaze estate anytime, Sume-san. Any friend of my wife's is a friend of mine. Sume smiled and thanked the silver-haired devil. Naruto smiled at his family. One of the daimyo's samurai guards came up to them. Namikaze-sama, Daimyo-sama requests that you come to the Hokage's office. He wishes to speak with you. Naruto nodded and transported his family directly to the office via void. Hokage's office, what is it, Gigi? Naruto asked as he and his family stepped out of the void. Naruto-kun, I have many pressing matters to attend to, and would like to deal with the revelation of your parentage as soon as possible. I would like to make a village-wide announcement, the daimyo said, standing up to face Naruto. Fine by me, girls. Makoto nodded with a smile, while Tsubaki loudly voiced her approval. He turned back to the daimyo. Looks like you got their answer. When are you going to do it? Now, if that's fine with you. Sarutobi stated. Naruto nodded. Sarutobi summoned a squad of his most loyal Anbu and told them to gather the villagers. Village center, 1 hour later. Many people were murmuring as the last few villagers walked into the center. Most were wondering why the Sandaime had called for a village-wide announcement and what he was going to be announcing. The murmuring immediately stopped when it wasn't the Sandaime, but the daimyo himself walking up to the podium. People of Konohagakure, it has come to my attention that I have been far too lax in the running of this village. My main cause for coming to this realization is that I have discovered that a single boy has been tormented by you all for the past 15 years. The boy I am speaking of is Naruto Uzumaki, the daimyo announced. Naruto walked up to the daimyo in the form of his old self. According to the boy, the Hokage, and several eyewitnesses, this boy was beaten by some, tortured by others, and unjustly punished for the slightest offense. Both myself and the boy have been told why, and it does not excuse your actions in any way. This boy has done nothing to deserve your anger. Even more than the fact that it was undeserved, proof has surfaced that this boy is the son of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage and savior of this village. Many civilians spoke out at this. There's no way that demon is the son of our Yondaime. One civilian shouted, only to have his head cut off by one of the daimyo's samurai, effectively silencing the crowd. The Sandaime's law has been ordered a priority from this day forward. Even alluding to what lies within him will result in immediate execution. You have all been running far too freely. This is not a democracy, this is a military village. This village is on thin ice as it is. Any further abuse of your situation will result in the liquidation of this village with only the truly loyal shinobi to be spared. The daimyo stated firmly. The civilians were literally shaking at this point. The daimyo turned back to Naruto and nodded. Naruto shifted back into his true form, scaring many of the civilians. They would have begun shouting about his demonic powers, but the samurai pulled out a portion of their blades, successfully scaring the crowd into submission. Furthermore, Naruto-kun has discovered that the Namikaze have a Kekkei Genkei, and that he is the first of his bloodline to activate it. The activation of said bloodline has resulted in the form you see now. This is his true form, the form of Naruto Namikaze. The daimyo looked back at Naruto, silently asking to continue on. Naruto nodded. Upon further speaking with Naruto-kun, He has revealed a very important secret to us, one that he has graciously allowed for us to reveal to you. Tsubaki-chan, Makoto-san, if you please. Makoto and Tsubaki stepped out of the shadows and walked over to Naruto, Tsubaki grabbing her father's left hand, while Makoto walked over to his right side and leaned into him, with him wrapping his arm around her waist. This is the Namikaze clan. Naruto, his wife Makoto, and their daughter, Tsubaki Namikaze. The daimyo introduced. The crowd gaped at the two other Namikaze. One civilian spoke up. Why does she look so much like Makoto Uchiha? Makoto sighed. Because I used to be Makoto Uchiha. The crowd was, once more, in uproar. Why did you abandon Sasuke-sama? Some of the civilians shouted. This time it was Naruto's turn to sigh. This was getting old. Shut up, he shouted, instantly silencing the crowd. Makoto-chan was nearly killed by Itachi. After my bloodline activated, I was able to get her away in time. In time, we fell in love. The daimyo married us in secret, much like he did my parents, and eventually Tsubaki-chan came into the picture. Itachi must have had a reason why he spared Sasuke. He likely thought no one was left except the runt of the clan. If he discovered that Makoto was still alive, he might have come back to kill one of them. So you're going to restore the Uchiha clan, one of the civilians stated. Makoto shook her head. Weren't you listening to Naruto-kun? We're married. I am no longer an Uchiha. I am Makoto Namikaze, and nothing will change that. Keika-san, Sasuke said, walking up to his mother. Hello, Sasuke. Makoto greeted impassively. You're alive. You abandoned me. How could you abandon me? He asked angrily. Naruto-kun already explained it. In honesty, Sasuke, I am very disappointed in you. You have become so much like your father. I had hoped that you would grow up with the thought of bringing back the Uchiha clan, but instead you choose the path of revenge, the path of a loner. Makoto said sadly. Naruto tightened his grip around her. Tsubaki glared at Sasuke. So I should just forget what Itachi did to our clan, he said, snarling. No, you should never forget something as devastating as that. However, you shouldn't be seeking revenge. It leads only to pain. If you truly wish to honor your clan, then rebuild it, find a nice woman, and repopulate the clan. Naruto said. Sasuke glared at him. Shut up. You have no place in this conversation. That's no way to talk to your stepfather. Naruto said with a smirk. Makoto had to suppress her giggle. You are not my family, Dobi. Tsubaki walked up to Sasuke. What do you want, squirt? Sasuke said angrily, only to let out a shriek of pain. Tsubaki had kicked Sasuke in the nuts with her full devil strength, sending him up about 10 feet into the air. Stop yelling at Chu-san and Ka-chan. She shouted at the downed Uchiha. So much for repopulating the clan, Naruto said, seeing Sasuke writhing in pain. Seriously, Tsubaki-chan, you need to stop doing that. With your strength, you could do some big damage. But he was yelling at you, Tsubaki said to her parents. Naruto rubbed her head. I know, but we can handle ourselves, Masumi. Naruto said, smiling at his daughter. He then grinned. Nice kick, though. Tsubaki grinned. Makoto bumped him on the head. Don't encourage her, Makoto scolded. I'm not encouraging her. But, come on, it was a nice kick. Naruto replied. Meanwhile, the daimyo and the sandaime had dismissed the civilians and the shinobi. Currently, the Namikazes and they were the only people left in the area, as medics had carted away Sasuke. The two men smiled, watching the family interact. Things will still be difficult, Sarutobi. You are going to have to work almost constantly on this. You sure you can do it? The daimyo asked the aged Kage. I can manage for a bit longer. At the moment, no one else is qualified for the position in this village, and Naruto is too young, he replied. True. Well, if you ever need backup, I can send my samurai to straighten things out. Good luck, Sarutobi, the daimyo said as he left the area with his samurai guards by his side. Sarutobi looked back at the family, only to not see them. He sighed and sat down. Namikaze Mansion. Naruto and Makoto watched as Tsubaki excitedly ran around the mansion, wanting to explore every inch of the building. Eventually, Naruto grabbed her and lifted her off of the ground. Calm down, Masumi, We're not leaving this place anytime soon. You'll have time to explore. For now, get some rest, alright? He said as she snuggled into his chest. Hi, Chu-san, Tsubaki said as she drifted off to sleep. Naruto and Makoto smiled at their daughter. She must have been tired, he said softly as he carried her to what would be her new room. She had a busy day, Makoto replied as they tucked her into bed after she changed her into her pajamas. They shut her door and headed into the master bedroom. It was rather large for a bedroom. They looked around and saw the king-sized bed, the entrance to the bathroom, and the 2 closets. Makoto recognized some of the kimonos in one of the closets as Kushina's. Naruto spotted his father's iconic coat in the other closet. He stripped down to his boxers and turned to his wife, who had already changed into a nightgown. They laid on the bed together and embraced as Naruto pulled the covers over them. They kissed and held one another as they drifted to sleep. Things were looking up for Naruto and his family. Ikoto hummed lightly as Tsubaki led on her breast. She leaned against Naruto, who smiled at his new family. 3 months ago, they were blessed with their beautiful little girl. With the new addition, they had finally settled into a solid routine. Every morning, when they woke up, Makoto would tend to the often fussy Tsubaki while Naruto readied himself for the academy. They would eat breakfast together before Naruto left. While he was at the academy, Makoto spent her day tending to their daughter, a task that brought her nostalgic memories of raising Itachi and Sasuke. The main difference this time was having a husband who was eager to help her. Naruto delighted at being a father, doing anything he could to help her. Likewise, Tsubaki was clearly attached to her parents, even by normal standards. If one of them left the room, the other needed to remain, unless Tsubaki went with them. She's a hungry little thing, isn't she? Naruto said, seeing Tsubaki's almost frenzied ling. Makoto nodded. She seems to have inherited your appetite, not to mention your hyperactivity. She noted. Naruto nodded, sighing happily. The room was quiet, the only sounds being Tsubaki's ling and Makoto's gentle hum. Both were shocked when a dark void opened at the foot of their bed. Naruto's grandfather stepped out, looking no different than he had a year ago. In his hand was a sheathed dado. Hello, Oji-san, Makoto greeted with a smile. Sparta smiled at her, his smile widening considerably upon seeing the child attached to her breast. Congratulations, you too, he said. Naruto grinned, while Makoto smiled brightly. Tsubaki, oblivious to the new arrival, continued to feed. I see you have adjusted to your new lives quite well, he noted, looking around the apartment. We've had a whole year, Oji-san. Of course we're adjusted, Naruto said. Sparta nodded, smiling. Naruto then took note of the sword in Sparta's hand. What's that, Oji-san? I told you, I would have Makoto's blade with me when I returned. Makoto handed Naruto Tsubaki, who had fallen asleep. She readjusted her top and stood up. Sparta handed her the dado, allowing her to examine it. The hilt was wrapped in black and red cloth, a broken chain hanging from the pommel. The guard was black, shaped like a manji. Intrigued by the design, she gripped the handle, drawing the blade. She marveled at the gleam the black blade gave off. It was beautiful, yet seemed eager to cut through her foes. I did not name it. I felt it best that its owner give it a name. Makoto nodded. She ran her eyes along the entirety of the weapon, trying to get a feel for the weapon to bestow upon it a proper name. She felt one in particular echo in the back of her mind. Thinking it over, she nodded. It was suitable. Zangetsu, she said. Sparta smirked. Cutting Moon, surprisingly fitting. A good name. Makoto nodded, sheathing the blade and placing it on the table with force edge. Naruto seldom kept force edge with him, as Yamato was more than enough protection. Sparta moved over to Naruto, who was gently rocking Tsubaki. May I? He asked. Naruto nodded, handing the man his great-granddaughter. He gently cradled the child, a joyful smile creeping onto his face. What is her name? He asked. Tsubaki, Naruto supplied. Hello, Tsubaki-chan, he greeted lowly. Tsubaki slowly opened her eyes, being greeted with Sparta's face. She curiously reached up, pulling the man's monocle from his face. She looked at curiously before putting it in her mouth. Sparta chuckled at the girl, who smiled. She's beautiful. She's our little angel, Naruto said. Tsubaki dropped the monocle, letting it hang from Sparta's pocket, and reached up to Sparta, pulling at his face. Sparta began chuckling. Well, she seems to like her great-grandfather, he noted. Sparta nodded, making faces at Tsubaki. Tsubaki's laughter filled the room. Makoto shook her head as she heard her daughter roar. She smiled at the fond memory and watched amusedly as her husband and daughter sparred. Every blow Tsubaki tried was batted aside by her father. It was beginning to frustrate the silver-haired girl, to her parents' amusement. Come on, Tsubaki-chan. I know you can do better than this. Her father taunted, grinning at the petite devil. She huffed at her father before delivering a vicious spin kick to his stomach. Much to her annoyance, he caught her leg and flipped her over. You're reacting again, Tsubaki-chan. We need to control that temper of yours. Tsubaki caught herself before she landed, springing up and kicking her father in the side. The force behind the kick managed to make the silver-haired man slide nearly a foot. He blinked, then let out a groan as Tsubaki cheered. I did it. I finally managed to hit you, Chu-san. She ran over to her smiling mother and hugged her. Naruto made his way over to his two angels and sat down next to his wife. Tsubaki excitedly hopped onto his lap. That means you have to fulfill your end of the deal. Naruto nodded. He had said 2 years ago, when they had started this, that if Tsubaki could legitimately land a blow on him, he would buy her anything she wanted. Yes it does, Tsubaki-chan. What do you want? She grinned, looking eerily similar to her father. Ichiraku ramen bar. I should have guessed, Naruto grumbled, sitting next to his daughter, who was currently on her 12th bowl of ramen. Now, Naruto still loved ramen, and had passed that trait down to his daughter, but Makoto had succeeded in teaching him to moderate his cravings for the food. She had only allowed a certain amount of it a day. Oftentimes, he would go days without it. So, watching his daughter eat as much as she wanted while not being able to pig out like he used to was a painful thing for him, especially since he had already eaten his maximum amount allowed for the day. How much more are you going to eat? He asked his daughter, who had just received another bowl from Ayame. How much more is left? She asked the waitress. Naruto groaned, slamming his head against the counter. Makoto giggled, rubbing her husband's back soothingly. It's okay, Naruto-kun, she said. So unfair. Miko-chan, he whined. Makoto leaned down and kissed his temple. I still can't believe it, Ayame said, staring at Naruto. How did you get him to stop pigging out? Makoto smiled at the waitress. Naruto-kun listens to me, she said simply. Yeah. Naruto grumbled. I learned years ago that my life would be much easier if I listened to Miko-chan. Makoto smiled, rubbing her husband's back. Ayame giggled at the couple. She had thought at first that Naruto marrying Makoto was a bit strange, but after seeing them together, she saw how in love they were with each other. Once she met Tsubaki, she knew that they were perfect together. Tsubaki reminded her quite a bit of Naruto when he was little, always full of energy. At times, though, Makoto's genes shone through. Tsubaki showed an intellect well beyond her years, at times saying things Ayame herself didn't know. She wasn't nearly as dense as her father was, though she chalked that up more to her actually having parents to explain things to her, unlike Naruto, who had proved to be quite intelligent, though still not to the extent of his wife. Done, Tsubaki exclaimed after devouring nearly 30 bowls of ramen. Naruto was weeping comically, still upset at not being able to eat ramen. Makoto was still consoling her husband, gently rubbing his back. Unbeknownst to him, she was barely restraining her laughter at the childishness of her husband. Ayame smiled at the young devil, collecting the last bowl from her. I'm impressed, Tsubaki-chan. You've well on your way to beating your Two-san's record, she said, handing the bowl off to her father. What was his record? Tsubaki asked curiously. 84 bowls, one after another. Chuki said, grinning. Tsubaki blinked, turning to her father with an odd expression. Makoto tapped him on the back, making him look up at her. She pointed to Tsubaki. He turned to face his daughter and almost burst out laughing at Tsubaki's expression. After paying Chuki for all the ramen, the family went back to the training field they had taken to using for Tsubaki's training. Coincidentally, it was also the field Naruto had taken his genin exam at. They immediately noticed that they weren't alone. Naruto's sensei, Kakashi, was staring at the memorial stone. "Sensei," Naruto said, making him turn to face the family. "Oh, hey, Naruto. Makoto-sama, it's good to see you alive again." Makoto smiled at the masked shinobi. Kakashi knelt down to see Tsubaki. "And you must be Tsubaki-chan." Tsubaki nodded. "What brings you here, sensei?" Naruto asked. Kakashi's face took a slightly somber tone briefly before returning to his usual look, something Naruto didn't miss. "Just visiting some old friends." He stood back up, turning to face the memorial stone. Naruto nodded. "How often do you come here?" he asked. Kakashi shrugged. "At least once a day. I feel like I owe it to them." Kakashi suddenly snapped his fingers as if remembering something. "Oh, Naruto, Hokage-sama approved my request to make you my apprentice. I was going to tell you tomorrow, but since you're here." "What about Sakura and Sasuke?" Naruto felt Tsubaki's grip on his hand tighten at the mention of her half-brother. "Sakura is back at the academy. Hopefully it will help her learn that the life of a shinobi is about sacrifice." "Sasuke," Kakashi seemed to struggle wording his next statement. "Someone took him under their wing. I don't know who. The council wanted me to train him, since I'm the only one other than Makoto-sama with a Sharingan, but I refused. I just hope he doesn't do something stupid." Naruto sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You know, Naruto," Kakashi said, "it's really remarkable how much you've grown up since your transformation. You're only 15, but you seem so much older." Naruto shrugged. "Having Tsubaki-chan gave me a new perspective. I needed to grow up to be able to support my family." He pat his daughter on the head, earning him a bright smile from the diminutive devil. "So tell me, sensei, what exactly will we be doing over the course of this apprenticeship? No offense to you, but I'm not sure there's much you can teach me that's superior to my clan's techniques." "Well, I need to know what those are first, Naruto." Naruto nodded. "Would you be opposed to showing me some of your techniques? Our spar yesterday didn't exactly give me a fair estimate of your skill." Naruto seemed to consider it for a moment before nodding. He moved to the center of the field with Kakashi, while Makoto and Tsubaki watched from their spot by the memorial stone. "What exactly do you want to see?" Naruto asked. "I don't know any jutsu other than the basic academy ones, but my Kekkei Genkai gives me an almost unbeatable body, and I've been training with it ever since Tsubaki was born. I know it sounds arrogant, but it's true. Well, I know from our spar that you're at least Chunin level in regards to taijutsu." Kakashi rubbed his chin in thought. "What are your abilities in your own words?" Naruto adopted a thoughtful expression. "Let's see, I've honed my aim, I've been working on my kenjutsu, and I still don't know how to activate Force Edge." "Force Edge?" Kakashi questioned. "Never mind, I guess my primary skill lies in kenjutsu," Naruto said, waving off Kakashi's question. He summoned Yamato to his side, surprising the masked shinobi. "Want a demonstration?" Kakashi nodded. Naruto stepped towards the forest, crouching into an Iaido stance. He struck with blinding speed, the click of his sword as it hit the scabbard being the only sign he had even moved. He stood back up and smiled at Kakashi. "That enough?" Kakashi blinked. The tree behind Naruto fell down, a single clean cut separating it from its roots. "You cut down a tree with one slice. Impressive." Naruto frowned, turning back to the tree. "What is it, Naruto?" Naruto held up his index finger. "Wait for it." 9 trees suddenly fell to the ground, all of them having the exact same cut as the first one. "There we go. 10 trees with one cut," Kakashi said, amazed. Naruto shrugged. "I told you I specialized in kenjutsu." He smiled, hearing Tsubaki's exuberant cheers. "And I can do way more than that." Kakashi nodded, shocked at Naruto's ability. "Well, I suppose I should stop thinking of you as a genin, then," Kakashi said as they headed back over to Naruto's family. "In terms of practical application, yeah, I still don't know a whole lot about being a shinobi, though, so I wouldn't qualify for anything else." Naruto resealed Yamato and picked up Tsubaki. "So should I come here tomorrow for our first mission? You should know I won't do D ranks. I'm not spending my time doing chores for people who hate me. I do enough chores in my own home." Kakashi nodded. "I'll talk to the Hokage. See you tomorrow, Naruto." Kakashi disappeared in a shunshin, leaving the Namikaze family alone. I like him, Tsubaki said. Unknown location. He growled as he pulled what was left of his weapon out of the scarecrow demon, paying it no mind as the body disintegrated in a black mist. He examined the broken blade briefly before tossing it aside, picking up the blade he had severed from the demon. It'll have to do, for now. He hefted it onto his shoulder, walking amongst the desolate land. I'm not going to get any stronger here. I need real enemies. His blue coat fluttered in the sudden breeze around him. He turned around, his cold blue eyes locked onto the floating blades around him. Interesting. He looked at the blade in his hand, then returned his gaze to the floating sword. An enemy that is also a blade. This will be entertaining. He dashed forward, slicing one in half. He jumped over one as it launched at him, grabbing its hilt and slashing at another one. He made quick work of the small group of enemies, ending with him impaling the 3 remaining blades with the scarecrow blade. He looked at the remaining sword demon in his hand, debating on whether or not to destroy it. It'll have to work. He continued the hellish walk, sword in hand. He had been wandering this section of the demon world for an incalculable amount of time, his punishment for attempting to kill his brother. He had recently deemed it futile to even attempt to wander, since it never got him anywhere. He continued on, however, after feeling an immense burst of power resonate through him. He knew that only someone of his bloodline was capable of such power, and that thought gave him hope. He needed his freedom, and he wasn't going to stop until he got it. Father, brother, he said to himself, which of you is it? Who is leading me to my freedom? Elsewhere. He kicked open the doors to his shop and immediately went wide-eyed. The Sparta was gone. Trish, he called. The blonde woman came out from the second floor. What? She asked. Did you take the Sparta? He asked, her brow furrowed in confusion. She peered over the railing and noticed the vacant spot on the wall. She immediately jumped down to the ground floor, a shocked look on her face. How could someone take it? I mean, you're here. Did you hear anything? Trish shook her head. No, the shop was quiet until you kicked down the doors, again. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Damn it, he looked around the shop, hoping for a clue as to who took the blade. As he looked over the spot where the Sparta had been, he froze. Dante, Trish called, seeing his unmoving form. What is it? That power, he muttered. He immediately bolted through the shop, grabbing his shotgun and heading for the door. Come on, Trish. Huh? Trish grabbed Luce and Umbra and headed after him. Where exactly are we going? She asked. We're going to pay a visit to the family, with Naruto. Naruto sighed as Makoto gently ran her finger along his chest. Tsubaki was asleep, allowing the couple some modicum of privacy. Miko-chan, he sighed her name. She smiled radiantly at her husband, delivering a loving peck to his jaw. You're determined to have another kid, aren't you? He asked. Ever since they had revealed their family, anytime they were able, they were having sex. Makoto had made it clear to him that she wanted more children. When he was still in the academy, it wasn't possible, due to his time being consumed from his studies and training with his new body, as well as Makoto caring for Tsubaki, which was an almost 24-hour job until she turned 6. With their lives no longer secret, they could finally expand their family. And so, here they were, several hours into their copulation, allowing themselves a brief rest. Of course, Naruto-kun, I want to have a big family with you. Besides, Tsubaki-chan would love having a little brother or sister. She hugged her husband, loving the warmth he gave off. I guess you're right. I just hope we can handle 2 little balls of energy. I mean, Tsubaki's bad enough. Makoto giggled. Silly Naru-kun, she tapped him playfully on the nose. That's why there are 2 parents. He pressed their foreheads together, a happy smile on his face. He had never expected for his life to turn out this way, but he wouldn't want it any other way. He had a beautiful wife that loved him unconditionally, an angel of a daughter that thought he was the greatest thing in the world, and he was finally a shinobi. Life was good. I love you, Makoto. She smiled, hearing the love in his voice. I love you, too, Naruto. She laid her head on his chest, sighing happily. The next day, Naruto pulled on his coat as he looked over the scroll he had received from Kakashi. Sarutobi had agreed with them about avoiding D-rank missions, so he had assigned them a C rank involving protecting a bridge builder named Tizuna. He headed out into the kitchen, still reading the scroll. "Good morning, Chu-san," Tsubaki greeted. "Morning, Tsubaki-chan," he mumbled, carefully reading the mission statement. He sat down next to his daughter. "Are you going on your mission today, Chu-san?" she asked. Naruto nodded. "Are you gonna be okay?" Naruto looked up from the scroll to see Tsubaki looking slightly worried. He smiled softly at his daughter, picking her up and placing her on his lap. He kissed her on the forehead. "I'm gonna be fine, Tsubaki-chan," he assured. "I'll be gone for a while, so it'll be up to you to protect Ka-chan, okay?" Tsubaki nodded. "I promise that I'll come back safe and sound." "Okay." Tsubaki smiled at him, hugging him tightly. This would be the first time that Naruto was away for more than a day, and Tsubaki was worried about him. She knew how strong her father was, though, so she knew he'd always come back to her. He'd come back to his little angel. "You're going to be late." Naruto turned to see his wife holding Force Edge. He put Tsubaki down and headed over to her. She held Force Edge out to him. "I doubt that I'll need Force Edge, Koishi. It's just a C rank. The most I'll have to worry about is bandits." Makoto made him take it. "I know, Naruto-kun, but you're more skilled with Force Edge. Take it with you, just in case." He sighed, sealing it away in his tattoo. He embraced his wife, kissing her softly. "I'll be fine. See you soon." She smiled, giving him one last kiss before he went out the door. She felt Tsubaki tug on her dress and looked down at the diminutive devil. She knelt down in front of her. "What is it, Tsubaki-chan?" she asked. Tsubaki hugged her mother. "I miss Chu-san." Makoto laughed. "This would be an interesting week." Konoha Gate. Naruto was surprised to find Kakashi already waiting with Tizuna when he arrived. The bridge builder seemed more sober than he was when they were assigned the mission, looking more respectable than before. He scratched his gut, looking impatient. "You're early, sensei." Kakashi shrugged. "No reason to be late today."